Well, there goes the DAVERHOOD. Good morning, everybody. Listen, that's my everybody. There they are, clapping furiously. They're so excited to be part of this program, which we call Dave's Gone By, featuring me, Dave Lefkowitz, the host and the producer of this program, now in its 18 and a half year. It's our 788th episode. I'm not making that up. Sometimes I look at that number and I'm like, it couldn't possibly be.
That's a lot.
And then other times I look at it and like, yeah, it really, really could. Especially when I go through the archives and I look at everything that we've done and all the guests we've had and all the fun we've had here in the DAVERHOOD. But it's Dave's Gone By.
You've never been arrested once for it.
I know. I probably should have in various cases, but not recently because the programs have been so good here on Dave's Gone By. We've had wonderful guests. As a matter of fact, a guest that we enjoyed so much just a couple of weeks ago, he's coming back to play the Today-Yesterday game later on in the show. And let's see, who else do we have? We have, well, first of all, more than anything else, we have my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who is dealing with a watch party and notifying everybody and telling everybody we're here and monitoring your comments and your waves and likes and dislikes and hoorays, which we always love to see, and we try to acknowledge even if sometimes we can't. But yeah, we do appreciate every single person who lays eyes or ears on this program, Dave's Gone By. How you doing, hon?
Good, I'm trying to type. I only had my first cup of tea, so I'm still not conscious.
She's only on her first cup of Starbucks awake.
I'm trying to figure out how to put how to make little smiley faces and stuff.
Oh, the emoji things. Yeah. Well, she's greeting you all. I'm greeting you all, and so much to greet. Bad segue about this program. Let me tell you what else is on. So I mentioned we're going to be doing the Today-Yesterday trivia quiz. It's a whole lot of fun. We've been doing them for a while now. We expanded it from just me asking a few trivia questions to you guys at home, and sometimes you're typing the answers back. Now it's become like a full wait, don't tell me, almost panel show featuring our usual suspects, David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake. We're always very proud and happy to have those two theater critics testing their trivia mettle. And it isn't just theater trivia. It's history, it's art, it's culture, it's music, it's architecture, whatever questions pop out of this noggin that all have to do with things that happened on this date in history. This happens to be March 6th, 2021. So we've had zillions of previous March 6th. This is some stuff happened on that day in history.
I can tell which one is the right one. I look for the shirt you're wearing.
That's right. You got the Groucho Marx. I don't know if people can actually see this really clearly. I'm going to stand up so you can see the shirt I wore. And there, see the glasses and the stash. So it's kind of a cool, fun shirt for our various guests. So I mentioned David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake. They will be playing once more against a playwright, John Pielmeier, the guy who wrote Agnes of God and The Boys of Winter.
Yeah, that was such a good quiz. He did well. I mean,
which is probably the reason he wanted to come back. Some of the people who got zero were like, I don't think,
And who was the first guest we had? I think the Yiddish guy, and I felt so bad. He was like deer in the headlights. He was like, I did not sign up for this. Oh, your bows are here, David.
Oh, Hank Sapoznik. My what are here? Oh, my bows.
Yeah, I know you wanted them. There's a gold one and a silver one.
Ooh. Well, this one we'll save for St. Patty's, but just for a little more decoration.
Something is multicolored in your shot. I don't like that.
Oh, I like it. It looks like a little pillow, and it differentiates.
Why are you a cat playing a guitar now?
I don't know why. Did someone just send us a cat playing a guitar?
I don't know.
He's pretty good.
I don't know, David. What happened?
Anywho, John Pielmeier will be back in the DAVERHOOD today to play the Today-Yesterday trivia quiz. And yeah, as Joyce was saying, sometimes we get guests on here. They're like deer in headlights. They want to answer the questions. I think they're reasonable. Sometimes they're just like, oh, pick A, B, C, or D.
Where's my watch party?
I don't know. And then sometimes, but, literally, there are times that we ask upcoming guests, hey, do you want to stay on after the interview and play the game? And they're like, oh, hell no. I don't know where your watch party. Joyce is manning the Facebook aspect of this program, and she put up a watch party, and now she can't find it. If you keep reloading, will that help, or
I don't know.
will you lose it if you reload?
Where does it go?
Or click your home button, kill that plus minus because it's blocking everything,
Okay.
and now hit your name
Okay.
and see if that brings it up. And there,
You're
yeah.
smart, honey.
Yeah, baby. I may not know anything about anything else, but I know how to find
You're
it.
not only cute, you're smart.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh,
Oh, yeah, if you lower my volume, that'd be
I'll have
cool.
to mute you, yeah.
So, here's the deal.
What is that thing?
It is an ice packy headache thing.
Yeah.
So I thought I would put it in here. I tuck it very, very gently, just to add a little extra, so that this show looks different visually than last week. It was like, wait a minute, is this a repeat? Oh no, there's that colorful kente cloth or whatever they.
I think it was 99 cents from CVS.
Yeah. Well, that is our budget for the show. We even have our big budget item for the Today Yesterday quiz coming up. Literally, I mean, months of working overtime for me to afford this as the question for our Today Yesterday quiz, and now we have this beautiful color splash of pillowness to add a little texture, a little more to the program. Pillow. This is my pillow. Anyway.
That was free from Trader Joe's. You know what that was?
Oh, you're talking about the question thing? Yeah.
You know how it was?
How did it? No. What was it, like coupons or something?
They didn't know what stickers they were going to give the kids.
Yes.
So they decided to put stickers in there, and then it was like a mystery for the kids.
Oh, I wish they would still do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got this like 2 years ago from Trader Joe's, and I just love it. Anywho, so Today Yesterday quiz. We'll also go inside Broadway for some Broadway news, and yes, there is some Broadway news this week, as well as the usual obituaries. Can't really avoid those. But we have that. We also have, what we do, our Colorado, pardon me, Limerick of the Damned. Yes, this is where we go to a place in Colorado, beautiful Colorado, and I make up a terrible, crude, pardon me, limerick about that particular place. And I've done this about 150 times already to from big cities like Denver and Fort Collins and Vail to tiny little places you've never heard of. I never heard of them before I went scoping them out for places to write poems about. But we will have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we are going to Pine, Colorado. So yes, you need not pine away this episode thinking there won't be a Colorado Limerick. Oh yes, my friends, there will. There'll be a poem about Pine, Colorado later in the show. And we will have Greeley crimes, pardon me, and old times. This is based on 2 stories that are regularly in this newspaper, the Greeley Tribune. Every week, they print 2 columns that are intentionally a little goofy and absurdist, but still real. So what they have is Cop Log, which has to do with people who are in the Weld County, Greeley, Evans area. Still north of, you don't get Loveland. It's basically Greeley and Weld. And
David, people in New York have no
idea what I'm talking about.
You're saying Xenos.
Well, we could be in Greeley, Colorado right now. You never know. So here's the deal. Phone call. People see stuff happening in the neighborhood, and they're like, uh-oh, I better call the cops on this. There's a horse next to a bucket. This is unusual. I think I better, he doesn't have a spoon. This little Monty Python joke right there. So I'm going to call the cops. And someone in police dispatch, and I feel so sorry for them, has to be there.
Yeah, but I'd rather get that than like an active murder or
I
like
know.
You'd rather get somebody saying like there's a squirrel attacking a squirrel than saying like somebody's running the neighborhood with a knife. I mean,
but it's the same person. The same person can pick up the phone.
I think they route it to they have a non-emergent. They route them to a non-emergent number. I'm sure
that would make sense. But we know somebody who worked for a few months in. Was it suicide hotline or?
No, our friend's daughter was a dispatcher.
But was it at police or fire or?
I think it was a general, I think it was medical. I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, she got. And she lasted a couple of months in that job, and then it was I can't deal. But imagine if you were months or years in a job where someone's calling up and says, "There's a hobo, and the hobo is screaming and has a dirty shirt. Send a cop."
You know the bad thing? It's like when I worked at domestic violence hotline. If it's real, it's okay, but sometimes you get crank people, and then they call every day or every week, and that's discouraging because they're real people who need it.
Oh yeah.
And then you have some like person who, not that they need other stuff, but they don't need to take an emergency number when it's not an emergency.
Yeah. Although I think now the times are such that the phone number will come through immediately. They know what numbers to block, or they have a list of like, if you see this number, come out.
Yeah, it's a non-emergency.
Yeah, they couldn't do that 20 years ago, but now everybody knows.
David, maybe they had technology we didn't. I'm sure the police and FBI and stuff had technology we didn't.
Yeah, probably 10 years before the rest of, but maybe not 30 years ago or 40 when people would call.
Yeah.
But so that's one column in the Greeley Tribune is phone calls that come into police dispatch. Real one. They're not fake. They're actually phone calls people called in. There's also a column called 100 Years Ago, where our friend of the neighborhood, Mike Peters, goes through the newspapers back in 1921 and picks out the funniest, weirdest, most...
some of those are made up?
No, he wouldn't do that. He's a journalist. He's a news guy.
That's true.
From and you look at it, they weren't funny then. A lot of them. They're funny when you look at them from 100 years hence.
Retrospect.
It's kind of like looking at. Nobody thought in 1952 that there was something, I don't know, amiss about pouring Aunt Jemima on your pancakes. It was Aunt Jemima. It was this cute, sweet, mammy-type black lady face on a bottle of syrup. And you poured it. And, in the 60s, they poured it. In the 70s, they poured the 80s. And then suddenly in, like, the early aughts, the company realized, well, the visual image of Aunt Jemima is just a little possibly, maybe a bit behind the times.
It's a mammy stereotype. It's really offensive.
So they make her look like a much more up-to-date. They smooth out the wrinkles.
How are you getting this from Greeley Crimes and Old Times, honey?
I'm saying that it's about 100 years ago.
See how you tie this in.
I am. The perception of what life was and what people did 100 years ago and what they thought about without even thinking about it.
Yeah, well, things change.
Yes, exactly.
Many years ago I would be property and chattel. Now I'm, an income earner.
You would never have been chattel. You would have been like white slave whore.
I would have been chattel.
Well, you are. Actually, honey, you will always be my white slave whore.
If I could. Okay, let me. Hold on 1 second. Come here, honey, 1 second.
Yes. But it's true. And then they changed the look of Aunt Jemima, but kept the name. And only in 2021, or late last year, did they decide, I think we'll call this Mill River Brook syrup.
Wow.
Or something like that, and take her off there and change the whole
Why don't they
idea.
just actually make it maple syrup instead of fake like corn
syrup?
syrup?
I wish.
Yeah, let's do something good.
Well, you know why? Because I'm always so tempted. I go to the supermarket.
You love the supermarket is like your
it's my haven. It's my
now the supermarket is your hangout. When you know the names of the cashiers, the manager, the stock people, you're going into one. They're like, "Hey, Dave, how you doing?"
It's true. I mean, I know everybody there by face. You always hope you're going to get to the register with the girl with the hot eyes as opposed to like the old girl. Because they're all wearing masks, so you can't actually see if they're pretty or not. But I hope the hot-eyed girl gets. Damn it. But about syrup. No, that's the thing. I go to the maple syrup aisle because I always think, it'd be nice to pour in my coffee. Or, not that I ever make pancakes or anything like that. It would be nice to have some maple syrup around. But, of course, the difference between Log Cabin and what was formerly Aunt Jemima was, first ingredient corn syrup, second syrup ingredient water, third ingredient maltodextrose sulfate oxide.
What?
No, I don't. And fifth ingredient is sucrose, seventh is sucralose, unnatural maple flavoring is about the 11th. And okay, it's $3 a bottle. You want to get real maple syrup, which is right next to it, and suddenly it's like $25 a pound and $14 a bottle. And I think I'll go now. Well, depends on the size of the bottle, but if you were making pancakes every weekend, it's surprisingly pricey because we don't live in Vermont. So I'm always a little discouraged. Well, I mean, I understand it, but at the same time, it would be nice if there was a drop of actual maple syrup. Because if you haven't noticed, and this is why they can't do it. This is why we have an FDA. Look on a bottle of Aunt Jemima or Log Cabin or something like that. Yeah. It will not say maple syrup.
What does
it just says syrup or breakfast
really?
Syrup. Yeah, yeah. It'll have maple flavor, but it's just syrup. How did I get on? So 100 years ago till now is, well, no, you also know the whole Dr. Seuss thing now. I didn't want to talk about this.
What?
Dr. Seuss is being generally canceled from the... Remember we had the whole Mr. Potato Head thing last week?
Yes.
I mean, the world had the Mr. Potato Head. Fox News made it this enormous cause celeb, and all the Post and the right-wingers said, oh my God, and they're kind of right, how stupid is Hasbro for taking this beloved item, who happens to be of a male persuasion, with a mustache, with perhaps a detachable genital cup or something of that nature, and of course they twisted the true story towards their right-wing purposes, because what Hasbro was doing, they said, okay, when we sell the box of these things, the actual overall brand will no longer be Mr. Potato Head. It will simply be Potato Head, to be more inclusive and to also acknowledge that they sell a Mrs. Potato Head. They sell now baby potato heads. They sell potato dog. You actually have like little animal fake potato.
Oh,
yeah, they do. So why not call the whole thing just Potato Head and leave it at that? They weren't, and they said from the very second they made this decision that they weren't getting rid of Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato, Brother Potato Head, Sister, Uncle Potato Head, Fireman. They were all going to still have their names, their presumed genders and detachable sexes, but they're just, for the overall packaging and branding, they were going to call it Potato Head instead of Mr. Potato Head. And a firestorm that ensued from people who didn't read past paragraph 1 of any story or the Hasbro press release. It was like, oh my God, gender, cancellation, or all of it is going crazy, and cancel culture, and just bending over backwards, no pun intended, to suit the various peoples who are so offended by everything because they're snowflakes on the left wing, and now they, oh my God, Mr. Potato, how could they? And Hasbro, now this is either dumb as dirt or brilliant, because then Hasbro, a week later, rescinded this and said, okay, you win. We will still make Mr. Potato Heads, Mrs. Potato Heads, serial killer Potato Head, mailman Potato, but we will keep the overall brand as Mr. Potato Head, that all you angry 50, 60, 80-year-old people are getting head up about because you grew up with it a certain way, and God forbid, blah, 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 it's still Mr. Potato Head as the brand. And, either Hasbro was stupid for going through all this in the first place, or they got more free publicity about this whole thing than Mr. Potato Head has had in, like, the past 30 years. They're front page news. Right? I think they were on the cover of the Post. They're all over. Every place was writing about them. Every AM radio station was making fun of it. So I mean, think of the money. It's like they got 5 Super Bowl ads out of just making that decision and doing a prototype for a new box. Brilliant on Hasbro's part. And you would figure something similar, brilliant, was being done by the estate of Dr. Theodore Geisel. And this one is trickier. Honestly, this one is a bit more, even if you read just the first 2 paragraphs of any newspaper story about it, you're going to be like, what? What? They're canceling Dr. Seuss? They're going to take Green Eggs and Ham and the Cat in the Hat and My Thing to Salisaloo and the Sneetch and take these off the shelves and get rid. Why? Why? Because he has a couple of panels in these books that might be construed as slightly ethnically insensitive to a 2021 audience, when you've had already like 4 generations grow up perfectly fine reading Dr. Seuss books and loving that and learning to read from Dr. Seuss. How can, so a little bit of panel of this and that. And of course, if that is true, unlike, let's say, a Bugs Bunny cartoon that would have been shot in the 40s and 50s, and then you can still put it on television or on a DVD, and you just cut the offending scene, or you zoom into another place and take out the offensive black stereotype, or the way they were looking at the Japanese in World War II when we were at war and trying to kill them because they were Japanese and trying to kill us. And so it was kind of okay to make fun of them ethically, But now you can't show that on TV for some good reason. But you can't do that really with a book unless you do this massive redo kind of reprint, which I wouldn't be surprised if the Geisel estate authorizes and does. Because what's happened is, if you wanted to get a Dr. Seuss book, one of the banned ones, now it's like $500 on eBay for a first or second edition of one of the books that has offensive content in it. Suddenly it's like, oh, everybody's snapping them up. This is going to be a rarity. They're never going to print this again. It's like, the other side of this is that if you look at, and this was reported like a decade ago, if you look at Dr. Seuss's drawings as Ted Geisel in the 40s and 50s, and some of the ad things that he did for something called Flit, and the way that he would draw like black, jungly kind of people, it made, it was really the whole absolute nose ring, white mouth, black. Went so far beyond what Eddie Cantor and Al Jolson were doing. I mean, it was just like, oh my, you're looking at it, it's like,
but what's interesting? I watched Culture Club, because there was an interview with Boy George that I was watching, and Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? The jury is black-faced. So he has the singers, the background group dancing and going, and doing like ska, and then in the jury he's got people with blackface and white gloves.
Well, I mean, again, this is 40 years ago, or 30, minstrel show, the idea of a kangaroo court, if you will. Did he ever have to explain that? Did he ever get in trouble for that?
Remember we were watching that interview with him, and I don't know, it struck me, and I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there is a sense that there were things that Geisel drew, and he also did, during World War II, very offensive stereotypes of Japanese people, just like Warner Brothers did. And there was a reason for that. They were the enemy having a race war against us. So you don't like our race, we don't like yours either. And let's make you look absolutely visually ridiculous with our drawing.
To the cartoon, the French cartoon, right? It got killed, right?
Oh, well, now we're talking about Charlie Hebdo and the mockery of Arabs and Muslims and Muhammad, I think in particular there. So it's kind of like, this swinging back and forth, this veering of something that was just fine a week and a half ago and is now not only no longer fine, not only something that we point to and go, but cancel it.
It's like saying in eugenics you would be an inferior race, right?
I am an inferior race.
We don't follow eugenics anymore, right? So we've evolved in our scientific thinking and saying, anatomy does not dictate criminality, right? So, we've evolved in thinking. I think that's what society does. If it doesn't evolve, it's regressive.
But if you evolve and then you take a hammer to everything. So I get the idea of wanting to pull down statues of slave-holding. This was the big thing 3-4 years ago, of going into all the parks in the South and everywhere else and pulling down statues of Civil War heroes of the South and big, wealthy landowners, slaveholders of the South, etc., and wanting to pull those down. I get that. I would still say move them into a museum, or keep the statue and put up a plaque that people can read and say, so-and-so bravely did this in the Civil War. He also was a landowner who bought and sold and traded and occasionally whipped this number of black people. Here you go. Here's American history for you. And it's not so long and boring that you're sitting in a classroom for 50 minutes. All you have to do is read this friggin' plaque, which will take you. And I know, kids wouldn't because you bring them to the park and they're going to glance at the statue and go back to the game on their cell phone. But at least you've made the effort, and you don't have to pull down and cancel everything and get rid of everything and rework of like, it was okay or maybe it was never okay. But we sort of looked at it and a little embarrassed, and we're like, all right, let that slide. Or you open up a Dr. Seuss book and you tell a kid, this is a kind of a not nice way to draw a person of color.
You'll never understand because you don't feel completely marginalized. You don't get it. You'll never get it.
I'll never know. I don't feel completely marginalized, but I will listen to recordings of Jewface. I will see the way Molly Goldberg. I'm not talking about the recent sitcom Goldbergs, but the way Jews were depicted in that. There are times when it's a kind of a nice, okay stereotype, and when it's not such a nice. And I had this conversation. This is absolutely true. I had this conversation with a fellow at work this week, where he's far more, well, I won't say he's right wing, but he's a little more to the right than I am, and I'm sort of to the left. And he's just, laughing and absolutely, off the charts about cancel culture and all these things. And he was saying, the stuff that he grew up with, he didn't think everybody was fine saying certain things, thinking certain things. And you did it with everybody. You didn't get oversensitive and go boo-hoo-hoo over every little thing. And he was saying that he used to use the phrase when they were talking about insurance. And everybody used the phrase Jewish lightning. You ever heard that? Jewish lightning.
No.
And, it was among a big thing.
Grease lightning? Like grease lightning?
No, it's not like grease lightning. Jewish lightning, if you're in the insurance business. This is what it was. It was basically, and he actually, I got it just before he explained it, but I haven't explained it to me. It's kind of like the Jack Lemmon movie, Save the Tiger. You have a business, it's not doing well, and suddenly, overnight, over the weekend, the building burns down.
Uh-oh.
How did that happen? Oh, Jewish lightning.
David, it's called arsoning.
Well, yeah.
Arsoning? What is it called?
Well, that was the thing. They used to call a business arson that was kind of suspect Jewish lightning. Because all these Jewish merchants would go, and they would have nothing else to do with business, and you know what? Let me cash out, let me take the insurance, I'll start something else. And he said it to me, and a little kernel of me got slightly offended, because he's not a Jewish guy, the guy in my office. He's I think, Italian or Scotch or something like that. And when he said it, I was like, but at the same time, I got it. I realized it was a funny phrase, and a very sharp, quick phrase to come up with for that kind of activity. But I told him, what, if you use that now, I warn you. I'm not offended by that because I'm not offended by anything. But if you use that phrase to other people, you will get in some trouble. You are going to get looks. You might get a talking to, and you might, you gotta, and maybe 20 years ago, I wouldn't have even had to have that moment to tell him that. To say people are gonna have a problem with that. Back then I would have been like, oh, Jewish lightning, or it's a little offensive, but what the hell, But it's just like I get where he's coming from, and I get where the other side is coming from, in the sense of there is so much out there in our culture that is just based on being not a white supremacist society, but a society that values the white. Like I know the white. I finally got it out of me. Yeah.
Stop and because you're right.
I know. But now I think I got it. I think it's that. What would be a word for that? It's what the phlegm that I get. It's
one of your not bitters. What do you call one of your humors? Your humors.
No, I call it. It's Jewish custard. That's what it is. That's my new word for phlegm. Jewish custard. And yes, you may quote me on that. And yes, you may use that in mixed company.
That That has made me sick.
Thank you. I'm so glad. By the way, it's 9:30 in the morning Eastern time, and you were watching.
Nobody's eating breakfast. That's just not like where you want to go. With
I know.
Sorry, that's not a breakfast and support.
El flan de judíos, if you happen to be watching in Spanish. So I'm Dave Lefkowitz. This is Dave's Gone By. My wonderful wife Joyce is here. We're talking about cancel culture, all that. But the one thing I haven't yet told you, the one thing I haven't yet mentioned to you all, is that coming up in the DAVERHOOD. Yeah, we talked about yesterday with John Pielmeier and Leslie Hoban Blake and David Sheward. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We've got our Inside Broadway. We'll have Greeley Crimes and Old Times. But how could I even not mention that our guests in the DAVERHOOD, coming up in just a half hour, are two actors, two veteran performers. And, I mean, I'm going to say the name. You probably, if I say the name, is one of those character actor guys where might sound familiar, might not. If I showed you the face,
yeah, you would know.
You would be like, oh, him. Now, I don't think we'll be able to see the faces because they chose to just do phone call.
Are they calling on your phone?
No, they're going to Zoom without video. So
video.
It's going to be a Zoom thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the guy I'm talking about is Bob Dishy. Okay, go Google him. Go look him up. You've seen him in everything from episodes of Columbo. He was actually, I think, good friends with Peter Falk.
Columbo, my favorite. Did he know Angela Lansbury?
I wouldn't be surprised if
he did, then he's the god.
This is the thing. When I was researching him, and Rabbi Saul was researching him earlier in the week, and you just do Bob Dishy and like celebrity or something, it will come up with this passel of incredibly famous people that he has shared the screen with. Like all the major actors of the past 40 years have done a scene at some point with Bob Dishy. He also did improv early in his career, and he's still performing. He and his wife, I'm getting to that too, he and his wife, Judy Graubart, are going to be in the DAVERHOOD together. They don't really act together. You don't see, except they will be this week. You can see them in a virtual reading thing that we'll mention. But Judy Graubart, if you know her name, she can do a lot over the past bunch of years. Her time, if you will, was in the 70s, very early 80s, and she's known for basically two things. First of all, she was the co-star with Alan Arkin in the film Simon, which was the first film Marshall Brickman made after he had all that success with Woody Allen in Annie Hall. And she was like the girlfriend, the love interest in that weird comedy Simon with Alan Arkin. But more than anything else, oh my God, she was one of the stars, along with like Rita Moreno and Morgan Freeman, for gosh sakes, and also Skip Hinnant and Luis Avalos, of The Electric Company. Remember The Electric Company? I loved that show. I remember when it went on the air, I watched every episode. I rewatch it on the weekends. Something about The Electric Company, this idea of being zany and goofy and fun while teaching reading. And like with everything else, like with Sesame Street, I was already too old for it by the time I started watching it. And yet I still watched it. Like, I knew how to read by the time I was about 3 or 4 years old. And yet now I'm watching in the early 1970s, like, show.
I liked it.
Shower. You know, I knew. I didn't need the Electric Company to telling me, ball. You know, and it's actually kind of funny because if you ever seen the Broadway show Avenue Q, they make fun of that a little bit, even though that's more of a Sesame Street thing. They throw in a little Electric Company-based comedy too, and Family Guy has made fun of it. But it was a wonderful show.
You liked it.
I loved The Electric Company. I think they haven't. I think finally they released old episodes on DVD when they got the rights issues figured out with Children's Television Workshop or whoever. But yeah, we have an original cast member of The Electric Company with us in the DAVERHOOD in just a little while with her husband, Bob Dishy. And they've been together for a bunch of years, so it's going to be so exciting talking to him about his life and career, and talking to Judy Graubart, because eventually she kind of stepped away from acting and all that to raise their family. They have kids together. So, yes! What a show! Bob Dishy, Judy Graubart here on Dave's Gone By. Watch, I'm just giving it this wonderful build-up. I better check my phone to make sure nobody's canceled.
You want me to look?
No, we should be good with everybody.
I can also impersonate them. I have no problem.
Well, you can do Bob Dishy, but can you do a jungle yell, like Jane of the Jungle?
No, I bet no.
You sure?
Tyroleans don't do that.
No. Actually, Tyroleans should be able to do that.
No.
That's the one thing Tyroleans should be able to do, is look them out and then go,
Yodel,
no.
We fight fascists. We don't yodel.
I can't yodel, but I can ring ding a little bit.
Oh.
Get it? That's a little...
Oh.
You know who else does, what rap star does that really well?
Who?
Drake. Drake makes the little... Yeah.
No, now it's Bimbo, isn't it? Bilbo, Bimbo?
Bimbo, they don't host us.
Bippo. What's it called? Boopy?
Bippo, he was the Marx brother that nobody talks about.
Bippo. I didn't like the Marx Brothers, and I didn't like the Three Stooges. My dad loved them. I found them too violent.
How could you not love... Well, Marx Brothers were
so
very rarely violent. I mean, Harpo. Wait, you hated the Marx Brothers?
I did.
No one hates the Marx. Three Stooges, women hate the Three Stooges. That's just the thing. Women don't get it.
Because I'm not a violent aggressor.
Which I am. Although I never loved the Three Stooges. I can watch a Three Stooges comedy now, and actually I'll start laughing. There are moments in the Three Stooges.
You just do that in your head all the time anyway.
I do. Yeah. But the Marx Brothers, man, at their very best,
really?
Like that sweet spot of not so much Animal Crackers, but Monkey Business, and then Duck Soup, which is arguably the greatest film comedy ever made, along with the producer. Oh my God, Duck Soup is perfect. Duck Soup is the perfect comedy. There's nothing like it from beginning to end. It's as talking about Woody Allen before. It is the movie that Woody Allen goes to watch in Hannah and Her Sisters when he's considering suicide, and he goes and sits in the movie theater and goes to see, and he comes out and he says, maybe life isn't so bad. Maybe Woody Allen's considering suicide now after watching that HBO documentary.
We never saw it, did we?
No, we can't get it. It's on HBO.
Oh, it's not...
It's not Netflix. It's not whatever. And apparently it's pretty one-sided. So,
Good.
Well, yeah. Anywho, what else?
When you date your daughter, like your dating pool should not be from your familial circle. Your dating pool should be outside of your familial circle.
But it's so hard to meet chicks who aren't in your living room already.
I mean, David, he's a whatever he is. He has celebrity, whatever that means. He could find somebody. He doesn't need to date his kid. I'm sorry.
Well, that was the way. I mean, he was dating beautiful Hollywood actresses.
I'm sure he was paying them.
He was a sex... I know it's weird to say. He was a sex symbol of the 1970s. You don't remember. He was cute. He was brilliant.
I don't think he was
Women
cute.
loved
I don't
him.
Think he was brilliant.
I'm turning into Woody Allen as I'm saying that. Leaving aside...
You call your narcissistic friend brilliant, but you don't call anyone else brilliant, so I disagree.
No, Woody Allen was more than... Woody Allen's genius.
I think you're under... Your classification of brilliant and genius are skewed.
Well, no, yours tends toward math and science.
No, mine tends toward people who have an actual soul.
Oh, genius has nothing to do with soul. You can be Alan Turing or something, or you can be a total mono whatever and discover something extraordinary. You know, Einstein was a genius, and he was terrible to his wives, and you can't necessarily mix up the way someone treats other people, or whether they're sort of sociopathic, in a manner of speaking, to whether they have a genius in them. We agree to disagree. So are you saying that Wagner wasn't a genius?
No.
Let's spin this back on you. Who's a genius then, besides me?
Nobody.
You're saying nobody is a genius?
No.
In the world?
No.
Ever. Nobody ever born. William Shakespeare, not a genius.
No.
Charles Dickens, no genius there.
You pick someone who's non-white male?
Marie Curie.
No.
Okay, let's see. Well, Emily Dickinson?
No.
Who else? Who would be... See, I don't know the math and science and people of other cultures.
That's your problem.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's your problem.
Hitler.
No.
I'm Jewish. I have to mention Hitler in some
You have to
capacity.
mention the Holocaust, like every show we see on Broadway HD, you know.
Has to have the Holocaust in there. No, so
It's like a Hanukkah special of people dancing like camp.
Mozart.
No.
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Bach.
No.
Not a genius. No.
Could you get people that are actually?
Can you?
Yeah.
Who? I'm asking. You said nobody's a genius.
I want to see you fish around.
I'm trying to fish her. I don't. It's not like I lived in Africa or China where I can say,
You
oh.
live in a world where there's a thing called Google, and you can read more broadly than you do.
I don't think Zora Neale Hurston was a genius.
Of course you don't.
You know, or I can't get through. Well, I hate Alice Walker, and I can't get through Toni Morrison either. I don't enjoy her books. She might be a genius. I don't get it. All right. And now I'm going to be canceled. So, but I don't know who you're. Maybe Louis Armstrong, Jimi Hendrix, genius. Will you give me that Jimi Hendrix was a genius?
I'm not talking to you no more.
All right, whatever. Okay. Well, for me, how can I even forget James Brown?
No.
One of the worst human beings in the past.
He was a drug taking.
Yes, wife-beating, drug-taking lunatic, especially in the last 30 years of his life.
You're obsessed with him.
But James Brown, man. What? Come on. What he did to music in the late 40s through the mid-70s? Nobody could. It just can't. It sprang out of him. Because I was torturing Joyce for this all week because we were talking about James Brown on the last show, and then we start watching some of his videos, and I just went into James Brown speak whenever Joyce is trying to watch TV, she's trying to do her work, and I'm like, get up, get down, she'll sit there quietly for 3 minutes, concentrating on something, and then I'll be like, she'll be like, stop it! What's wrong with you? And it's like, I can't help it. I can't help it. I got ants in my pants. I need to dance. Because try it. Try it at home. Start doing it. Start just interjecting James Brown. Good God! Just bring them in whenever you can, and you will find it's very tough to stop doing them after you've begun. Do the mashed potatoes. No. Don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, potato. I got carried away. I did.
Don't upset them. It's mean.
Carried away. Carried away. All right. So what is it? It was almost 1:45. We better do some Greeley crimes and old times. We have to look at the Greeley Tribune newspaper. This past week's issue, which has Cop Blog and 100 Years Ago. We mix them up together, and that is how we get this segment, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Get down! I'm telling you.
Are you okay?
I'm not going to be able to stop now. It's now back in me.
I'm concerned you're going to give yourself a hernia with all the you know?
I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Just open up the door. I gave myself. Ha! Do you hear me? Anywho, it's time for Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So, ladies and gentlemen, shall we start with something criminal?
Sure.
I think we shall.
Let's go for it.
Actually, I've been watching a show on Netflix called Criminal. So
I enjoy that, yeah, I do.
We begin with a caller on 8th Avenue reported a man. No, not if it was anything like that, I would have said. It's 8th Avenue, somewhere in Greeley, Colorado.
Claro.
Reported that a man was staring them down, and then he started dancing down the street.
That is James Brown.
It is,
That
right.
is James Brown.
I got a stank leg. Yeah.
Please don't give yourself a hernia.
Police responded. Police responded. This is serious. To a report of several sheep out on the road outside a fence by Weld County Road 54.
That's all I have. That's the only animal I have.
It's a very messed up sheep right there. But however, the sheep were not in the roadway, and they were accompanied by a shepherd and his dogs.
Oh.
It never occurred to me.
Yeah.
I think of farmers and ranchers.
But you need
When was the last time you heard the word shepherd?
I think probably on Netflix when they have like some of those shows, like you need a shepherd to tend your sheep. It's very biblical.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the image of a good shepherd. But you need a shepherd, and you know why I think of it? Because in a lot of the farmers have those the border collie or the collie, and what they do is they're sheep herders. Like they're
right,
known
the
for
sheep herder.
but they're known to
they round them up. That's they have the dogs.
Yeah.
But it never occurred to me that people are still literally called shepherds. And I miss my old friend Richmond Shepherd.
That's the name of my friend's husband. I don't think he's a shepherd.
Yeah.
It's a family name for him.
Shepherd. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh. This is very exciting, hon.
What?
It's time for a rooster alert. This is more of a chicken.
I don't have any animals.
We need to get one of those cow goes moo things.
We need to get one that has animals,
Yeah. Or that, the speaking say.
Yes, we need to get like something with animals, yeah.
The ocelot goes, yeah.
We need that. Why can't we get one that has like ocelot?
So we have a rooster, because the ocelot costs a lot. Rooster alert. A caller on 2nd Avenue reported roosters crowing. This was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, by the way. Police contacted the owner, who said, A, there's nothing she could do about it, because, they're roosters, and B, there was no way to prove the roosters that were crowing were hers. It's like when they're in the box sweating it out. It's like, I didn't do it, and even if I did do it,
But you know what, roosters crow in the morning. That's why they have ordinances about how many roosters or chickens you can have, because they crow their butts off. That's what roosters do.
Mm-hmm.
If you live next to roosters, they're going to crow. It's different from a crowing rooster in the morning than un perro that barks all day. Like for me, the barking dog all day. My friend, I had a friend who was a nutritionist, and she lived in Fort Collins. She still does, and she showed me pictures. It was a beautiful home, and she said, "What you don't see, it's like the real estate show that we saw, multi-million-dollar home in the real estate show." She said there is a puppy or some kind of or a huge dog. It barks all the time, so it ruins everything.
Of course,
so that's a problem.
Could you imagine, like, if we had a little house and there were people living like in a house pretty much next to us, because we're gonna have a huge yard, and all day throughout the day they hear me go, ha!
I have gotten. I don't want to say anything, but I have gotten some complaints from the neighbors and the rest of the family. There's.
Is he knocking you down? Because all we hear all day is get on up, get up, get on up, get up, get up, get up.
It'd be really an ageist offensive joke for my people. If you have like a fall device, like when you fall, and then what is let's say you fall, like it's texture gonna fall, and as you fall it says get up,
get on up, get up. Stay on the seat. I'm trying to get an ambulance on the seat. Get up. Oh, lordy. Let's go. Let's do something from the old times, shall we? We shall.
I'm scared now. I'm really scared.
Because of the rapid increase in gang activity in Denver.
What? Oh, yeah.
This is not modern, like, gang. This is like gangs of hoodlums. Those hoodlums.
That's not a good deal.
The manager of safety has ordered all Denver police...
Wait, what's the manager of safety?
This is what they had back
Safeway?
then. No, they had a safety manager 100 years ago in Greeley. I guess not the chief of police, but I don't know. They had a manager of safety. He worked his way up from box boy of safety, I imagine.
Nice.
And he ordered all Denver police to shoot to kill all bandits and prowlers out at night. So that's changed a little bit. Oh, 2 guys. Well, look at that. There they go.
I like that. There's a lot of
and by the way,
activity.
you'll be happy to hear that at least back in 1921, Dr. Charles Steinmetz, we need the drill noise. Yeah. Perfect. Dr. Charles Steinmetz, the wizard of electricity. He says the future is good. Quote, this is what was in the papers back then.
Oh my God.
He said, in our houses, we will soon have electric washing machines,
Ooh.
ironing machines,
Ooh.
and even electric devices for cooking and heating.
Ooh. Oh, radical.
Just occurred to me, what did they use to iron clothing before they had electric irons? How do they
remember we saw it in the show, the play we saw? You get an iron and you put it on the stove, a metal iron, and then you put it and you heat the iron and then you do it. Yeah,
that makes total sense, of course. Wow.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because that show it's seemingly straightforward, but then it kind of turned ironic. Okay, because it had the iron on it.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That's a hot joke right there. According to hunting experts, this is, again, you're going to love this, from, again, the idea of what was right years ago versus what we feel now. According to hunting experts, more buffaloes can be killed.
That one works for a while.
Yeah. Well, more buffaloes can be killed with a bow and arrow than with a gun.
Okay. I somehow don't believe that, but...
Here's the deal. While they have the same killing power,
oh God,
the bow and arrow is silent, and it doesn't frighten away buffaloes when shot. Also, the with other buffaloes when shot. Also, the bow can be refired much faster than a muzzle-loading rifle. So
interesting.
Yeah. And this is, of course, when we were still. It was just sport. It was just like, let's get rid of all of them except 2, because they can always make more. Anyway, let's do, before we run out of time for Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
What time is your Zoom?
10 o'clock.
What
we
time
have
is it now?
It's 5. Yeah, we're good. We're good. I hope we're good. We haven't joined yet.
Robert Calum.
Yeah. He said,
yeah,
is he
joined,
yeah. Well, welcome, Robert. Anybody else joined recently? Or
Mark and Robert. I can't see. I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, you're doing the other stuff on the
other side. It's hard for me to.
But you sent me this article earlier in the week, and
I'm going to regret, shame myself.
I am so grateful for this. This is so beautiful. We go occasionally out of Greeley, Colorado, and Weld County for Greeley Crimes and Old Times for odd stories that come from other places. Mm-hmm. For example, Cambridge in England. Yeah. Here's a story from ScienceAlert.com.
Oh, wait, do alert.
Well, no, because no. We saved that. We saved that for Fort Lupton. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Here's the headline, and I'm surprised this didn't make the front page of the New York Post. A cephalopod has passed a cognitive test designed for human children. Humans should not underestimate animal intelligence. Cuttlefish have been put... Do you have a cuttlefish noise? Do you have the sound of cuttling, maybe?
That's an uncuddled fish.
They've been put to a new version of the marshmallow test. Results demonstrate that there's more going on in their strange little brains than we knew. Cuttlefish can learn and adapt, giving them the edge in their eat or be eaten marine world. Now, have you ever heard of the marshmallow test?
No.
This was completely new. The marshmallow test, better known as the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment, which destroyed the lives of many, many black people. Here's the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. A child is put in a room with a marshmallow.
Oh God, no!
Now the child.
Like this, I don't like this.
Yeah, I know.
Violent. Okay.
But here's the deal: the child is told that if he can just hold off eating the marshmallow for 15 minutes, he'll get a second marshmallow and can eat both.
It's about patience, right?
Yeah. This ability to delay gratification tests cognitive abilities like future planning. Like, at what age is a human smart enough to delay gratification for a better outcome? Because it's so simple, the marshmallow test can be adjusted for animals. You can train them that better food will come if they don't eat right away.
I like that.
So other animals that have passed this test are dogs, crows, and ravens.
Oh, good.
So, like, if ravens hover over, like, a ship accident, They wait another couple of hours. It's like, wait, the fat ladies haven't died yet. Now, cuttlefish have also passed the marshmallow test.
Oh, okay.
They can refrain from eating crab meat, even if they go with the Red Lobster.
No, at Red Lobster, they like those cheesy rolls.
They do.
Can they resist the cheesy
And
roll?
they love the Outback Bloomin' Onion. I don't get it. But, yeah.
I don't think they could resist that.
But cuttlefish they will save crab meat in the morning if they know they'll get shrimp for dinner. To further test that hypothesis, researchers at the university...
We should tell Dishy that, because maybe that's why the cat doesn't eat. He's waiting for the...
He may be.
He's waiting for the better food, yeah.
That could be. Well, if you give... if a dog sees two things and it wants to eat one more, unlike humans... See, that's the difference. Humans, if you go to a child and you put spinach or okra on their dinner plate with... steak or spaghetti, whatever the child really wants to eat. The child will very often, or I would very, you get through the yucky stuff first, and you save the steak, you save the really good stuff for later. Of course, by then it's cold, so you've really screwed yourself over. But I'm a delayed gratification kind of a guy. I'm like, let me eat the thing I don't really want to eat, get through it, and now, aha, my reward. But it can be difficult for animals. To further test the hypothesis, researchers at the University of Cambridge did another test with 6 Sepia officinalis, which is the common name for a cuttlefish. Aww. And they did this test. This is your tax dollars at work in England here. The cuttlefish were placed in a special tank with transparent doors, one open, one temporarily closed. Behind one, a raw piece of prawn. Behind the other, a live glass shrimp. Yum.
Ew.
All the cuttlefish in the test group waited up to 2 minutes for the better reward. So one scientist, quote, cuttlefish spend most of their time camouflaging, sitting, and waiting. Then they have brief periods of foraging. When they forage, they're exposed to predators. So, delayed gratification may have evolved so that cuttlefish can optimize foraging to wait for better quality food.
That makes sense.
Isn't that great? Let's see, someone tried to call me. I'm wondering if it's my...
because it's 9:59.
Could you do me a favor and call this number back? Can you call the number back on the top number?
Yeah.
Can you just give them a call and see if that is... Maybe they're expecting to be on the phone or something?
Oh, Jesus. This one?
Yeah.
Okay, let me call.
And meanwhile, while we're waiting for that, I'm gonna, because maybe they think it's a phone call when it was going to be a Zoom thing. But what else? Let me tell you about this program. It's called Dave's Gone By, and if you like what you're seeing, and why wouldn't you? You should know that we've been doing this program since October of 2002. And have continued to do it week after week after. There were times we've taken breaks of a month or so, but yeah, over the years we have all this content, and you can find it at davesgoneby.com. That is the official website of the show, davesgoneby.com. We have the first episode we ever did. Now, it was on the radio, on terrestrial radio, WGBB AM 1240, and an hour long that we did at 11 o'clock at night. And then we had it, we did hour-long shows and hour-and-a-half shows audio only for many, many years. We were just on the radio. Then on college radio, we did internet radio for a bit. And then only about three and a half years ago did we start doing these as videos. But whether it's the videos from the last couple of years or the audio from many, many years before, we've saved all these episodes. And they're all there for free at davesgoneby.com. You can either stream them right on your computer or download them as MP3s. So, if you're a podcasty kind of person, you can listen to them that way. But either way, man, our first episode, our 50th, our 100th, our 150th, our 650th, they're all there. Just go to davesgoneby.com.
I'll definitely call you. I'm just going to grab a piece of paper so I can...
Is this the guest thing?
Yeah.
They're working on it. And... something that should be so simple in 2021. But anywho, the nice thing is that we've also taken the time to take the interviews that we've done on the program and extract them so that if you want to listen to the whole show with the interviews, and back in the day we had music too, fantastic. If you just want to hear all the interviews, there's a separate archive where just the talk has been extracted, and of course all the famous folks that we've had on the show, and not so famous, and the occasionally infamous folk we've had on the program, they're all there. So check it out, davesgoneby.com. Also, I want to let you know that we put all our archives on archive.org, which is a long-running website. Oh, I've got... Yes. Joyce is explaining that that Rabbi Sal Solomon is waiting in the wings to talk to our guests who are going to be joining us, I hope, momentarily. But anyway, archive.org. This is a nonprofit website that's gathering tons of old radio shows and books, and you name it. They're trying to archive everything from like I was saying like the 19th century, 20th century. I think they go back to the 1300s for some of their things. It's this repository of everythingness. And Dave's Gone By, we've got all our episodes there and all our interviews there as well. Archive.org. If you are a real dedicated audio-only podcast person, check out our stuff at castbox.fm. Castbox.fm is the place to do that. And what else? We're on YouTube. All our stuff is on YouTube too. It's occasionally been edited or muted out because YouTube was giving us a problem with when we would play copyrighted audio, if we played a song, God forbid. So YouTube is not necessarily the best place to find us. It just can be the easiest if you don't go to our website. And all you folks on Nassau County, Long Island, remember that Mondays at 1 a.m., early in the morning on Mondays, and Tuesdays at 4 a.m., you can watch us on Channel 20 of cable. Joyce is having a better time talking to the guests than Rabbi Sal will. Mondays at 1. Okay, so Tuesdays David, at... What's the story?
Can you grab the Rabbi?
I beg your pardon?
Their Zoom link just is dead. They're having like a Leslie
Hoban Blake moment, yeah.
So I told them I will...
We can call them.
Could you get the Rabbi?
Well, I'll play some music. I'll bring the Rabbi on.
Yes, and I'll get this ready.
So they're going to do it by phone?
And on my phone because the quality's better.
Coming up soon, coming up like in a minute or two, Rabbi Sal Solomon will be talking, I hope, to Judy Graubart and...
he's funny. He's
and Bob Dishy. Oh, yay.
He's a nice guy. Such a nice man.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Really
Yay.
Nice, yeah. He said he was texting you and writing you. Why didn't you respond? I said, because David's live.
Yeah. And also, he didn't... I have no text from him. So if
maybe he meant email.
Maybe.
Email, yeah. No worries.
Anywho, Bob Dishy, Judy Graubart, and the Rabbi coming up as soon as the Rabbi can get his clothing on and Joyce, because Rabbi, he's a nudist. He likes to hang around naked in the shul, which is problematic.
Quickly, because we got to get this going here.
Oh, I know. I've got to set this up. Plus, I have to play the Rabbi's music, something a little bit klezmery.
Malkeinu, Avinu, Malkeinu, Mashiachenu, Yoshinu, Yikalinu, Veinis Bekaroi, Yashminu, Verachmoveni, Kochayle Mor, Hengol Tiestem, Machris, Kivreshish Liyos, Tochem, Leiloikim, Hengol Tiestem, Machris, Kivreshish Liyos, Tochem, Leiloikim,
Hello, shalom, and we're going to get you on speaker here. Is this... Oh, wait. Let's make sure we can do this by telephone. Shalom? Hello?
Yes, we're both we're on separate phones, so we're not fighting here.
Oh.
This is Bob. I'm Bob.
Shalom, Bob. Shalom, Judy. Let me give you a proper introduction. My name is Rabbi Sal Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And it is my great... Yes, we're talking to the daughter of a rabbi here, so she should know this very well. But let me tell you a little bit about both of these amazing people who are on the program right this second with us in the neighborhood. What? Shalom. Well, let me give you an introduction here. Let me tell all the wonderful people. First of all, Bob Dishy, veteran actor since the 1950s. He made his debut, if you can believe this, in the original Damn Yankees on Broadway. And then he was cast in the lead of I Wonder Who's Killing Her Now after Peter Sellers left that movie. He's done Columbo. He was Tony. I don't know if he won the Tony or was Tony nominated for Sly Fox on Broadway. And then he was in Sly Fox again when they brought it back to Broadway. He did a bunch of other Broadway shows. And let us not forget his lovely and adorable and wonderful wife, Judy. Now, forgive me if I've been saying this incorrectly. Is it Graubart or Graubart?
Well, that's a family dispute. We'll say Graubart today, just to please everybody in the family.
Oh, good. It pleases me, too, because that's the way I've been saying it, and I'm a rabbi, I'm always right. So it's Graubart. Graubart. So it's a mix of both. Graubart.
You can say it whatever way you want, you know?
Like raw heart, Graubart. I'll still screw it up, but I'll try. Well, you remember her from the movie, the Marshall Brickman comedy film Simon, where she was on there with Alan Arkin. But even more so, if you were growing up in the 70s, you watched on public television The Electric Company. Oh my God, what a show! So she, of course, was Jane of the Jungle and all these other characters on that funny show that taught people how to read. So put your words together. Shalom. Shalom. Shalom to Judy and Bob. Shalom to you. Welcome.
Welcome. Alaikum shalom.
Oh, and shalom aleichem to you, Tom. So let me ask you, first of all, Judy, being the daughter of a rabbi, were you Orthodox, semi-Orthodox, modified Orthodox, what?
You know, I don't know. We called it conservative way back then, but today I guess you'd call it Orthodox because on Shabbat we observed Shabbat and Kashrut and didn't ride to shul. The synagogue was right around the corner, so we just walked there. You know, and I couldn't use my coloring books or my paper dolls, but the Sabbath was lovely. I mean, it is still a lovely day, a lovely idea.
Well, can you use your coloring books and paper dolls now on Shabbos?
Yeah, I do. I still have them, and yeah, I could do whatever I want with scissors and pencil.
So do you and Bob, do you celebrate like Passover? Do you do the Yom Kippur or anything over the past few decades or not?
Yeah, well, I feel like I could call myself a 3-day Jew, but we do celebrate Passover, and when my son was living here, we did Shabbat every Friday night, you know, potatoes and the challah and all that, and I'm a lapsed Jew, I have to confess.
A lapsed Jew. And what about you, Bob? Were you raised in like semi-conservative, reformed, or even almost without religion?
Well, I would say my mother and father obviously were more attuned to religious than I was. Mine was more just a secular.
Yours was basketball.
But I'm also a Sephardic. So it's a little different in terms of the tradition. And what I remember most was the food, the wonderful Middle Eastern.
Well, it's really, he eats, of course, I'm Ashkenazi, so he can eat as much rice and beans as he wants, but that's forbidden for the Ashkenazi. So I don't know what pot to use for what, you know. So I just gave up altogether.
Well, I generally use...
I went through the rituals of bar mitzvah, et cetera, but then it's just, I guess I like to think that I think of Spinoza as Einstein's use of an arrow into Judaism and God.
Which is what?
I don't... Does
anybody hear anything?
Yes. But what did Spinoza say?
I don't remember Spinoza. I know his first name, Baruch, that's all I know about Spinoza.
Yeah.
the easiest part of him to understand.
Right. So you study Baruch Spinoza and arrow into what? Could you explain what you just said?
No.
Oh.
I think, I don't know. Bob has talked about it here to me, and I would say, Einstein said he follows Spinoza's God, which is...
Well, he said, I believe in the God of Spinoza.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't want to misquote you, Albert, wherever you are, with all due respect.
Well, I don't think he minds, honestly. And Judy, by the way, if you're ever wondering which pot to use, there's the Sinsemilia that comes from Mexico that's really, really strong. You should try it. It's very good.
It's poisonous.
That explains everything, I think. So let me, Judy, speaking, since we're still talking a little bit about religion, and can you do the cheer commercial in German or Hebrew?
I can do it in German. Die glauben, ich schaff's nicht, das neue Fallbeweis zu beschreiben. Ich weiß, was ist. Was ist weiß wie ein Gespenst. It's whiter than a ghost. The clothes that you, even if they're colored, you put them in the wash and they come out bright white. I did it in German because I went to Germany to do the commercial because they had a similar product, and so I remembered it, and it's a kind of mantra for me. When I was giving birth to my son, I just kept saying that over and over, and
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like I'll probably, when I have to get the coronavirus shot, I'm very scared of needles. I'll just be repeating that over and over in German. It's like Well, let me ask you, since you went, this would have been quite a few years ago. Was it weird for you to go to Germany?
Yes, it was. Well, for one thing, aside from the obvious, nobody that I worked with spoke any English, so that was one difficulty. But of course, yeah, being in Germany, I redeemed myself because I changed my first class airfare to coach, which enabled me to go to Jerusalem. So I did my teshuvah. I repented in Israel.
No, that's yeah. You just gave me so much nachas, and I know you know what that means. But how are you both? I should ask you. I mean, Bob, you're getting up there. Are you in your 90s at this point, or still late 80s, Bob?
I'm 22.
You're 20. Really, 20?
In my head, I'm 17.
I thought you asked Bob if he was in his undies.
Oh, it could be. Maybe that's why you didn't want to do the Zoom thing. But
No. I'm still in my 80s.
oh, still and you're feeling, thank God. How are you guys getting through the pandemic?
Quietly.
Well, actually, I feel guilty because it's not really much of a burden for me because I really prefer not to leave home at all, ever. So,
You are Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have my coloring books, and, they're not filled yet.
Well, you aren't doing nothing because we do want to tell people that on March 8th, Tuesday night, you can.
I think it's in the afternoon, isn't it?
Oh,
the reading you're talking about at the Food for Thought.
Yes. Why don't you Bob? You tell everybody where can they.
Judy and I, and there's another play. There are two plays done. Food for Thought, which is something that Susan Charlotte started many years ago, and she has continued doing it. Of course, because of the virus, it had to slow down for a while. But she was the first theater to open a few months ago in a limited way. And Judy and I are doing an old Tennessee Williams one-act. I guess that will be zoomed. Zoom is nothing that Judy and I...
Obviously, make sure it works.
If it works, it doesn't work. It's also, I just find it somewhat impersonal in a way. It's better just to have the voice. Anyway, so we're doing that on the 8th. I think the show starts at 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Must be a way to get in touch with that.
And the theater?
Oh, we're doing... Well, the theater is on think it's 80 St. Mark's Place, which is on 8th Street and First Avenue.
What's the name of the theater?
It's literally called 80 St. Mark's. It's
Most of the people will get it through Zoom. They only allow about 15 people in live, separated. Still, it has certain.
By the way, I don't know if this is any kind of spoiler, but it's not a typical Tennessee Williams play by any means. It's that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Well, we will tell people that the name of the one act is called Lifeboat Drill, so that may give you some idea. And it's also on a bill with a Christopher Durang play, and Christopher Durang's going to be showing up. He'll be on Zoom also.
Yes, he'll be doing the Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Okay, I'm spoiling it for you.
I knew that, but he won't be live at the theater.
Oh,
Judy and I will be live at the theater.
And I'm assuming I read somewhere Carol Baker will be on Zoom as well. Now she.
No.
No,
I think it's Carol Baker's daughter.
Oh, Blanche Baker. She's in the other show.
Maybe Carol Baker will be on Zoom.
Right.
Also, I don't.
Is that Carol Baker Sayers? No.
No, Carol Baker.
Carol Baker.
Wonderful actress.
Okay.
Who knew Tennessee Williams? She was Baby Doll.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And her daughter is Blanche Baker, who has been on this program, and she is doing the Christopher Durang play. So blah blah blah.
Right.
It's all one big family. It really is. Now we are talking with Bob Dishy and his wife Judy Graubart. Did I say it? I got it! Graubart! Okay. Now we can start the interview. So, Bob, one of the things that we love to do, that I'd love to do when I talk to people who've been in the industry like you have, is that you have appeared with everybody. So I would love to hear anecdotes and stories, either funny or dark or whatever, about some of the people that you have dealt with in your amazing career. So I'll throw names at you. You were in the debut of Arthur Miller's The Creation of the World and Other Business. Do you have an Arthur Miller story?
Well, he was so thin then.
Arthur Miller. Well, I got to be friendly with Arthur because he also grew up in Brooklyn, went to Lincoln High School. And when I first met him, of course, there was this sense of awe. But when I met him, I saw he was someone I could have grown up with because of his just relationship to life, the way he spoke. He just, there was no image to him. I mean, it was a direct contact with him when you had a conversation. We sat in a coffee shop and were just talking. He wasn't Arthur Miller, the Arthur Miller. It was this guy, Arthur. I had a similar experience with two other people that I had the good fortune to work with, Brando and Marcello Mastroianni. And they were both the same way. I mean, they knew they had this image that they had to get past in a relationship with someone because people didn't deal with them directly as who they were.
You put them at ease.
I put them at
That's
ease.
it. That's what did it. But Brando was not nuts yet. He was, when you had a conversation.
He was never nuts. I don't know why you say that.
Well, he was anti-Semitic at a certain. He kind of lost it.
Where do you have that from?
Read the stories. He was saying bad things about Jews in Hollywood.
You sound like the news.
He did the first play that was a Zionist play.
Oh, that's right.
True. This is true.
Maybe.
All right. Well, all right. So maybe he stayed. I mean, when was the last time you talked to Marlon Brando, Bob? Did you have a?
When I did the movie, but I can only tell you from my personal experience, he never said anything anti-Semitic to me.
Not back then. Yeah.
So I don't know why you spread something like that.
Whoa.
Well, the rabbi might know something.
I'm not saying you're wrong or right. It's just you're so flippant.
And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
I said it about if you said it about T.S. Eliot.
Oh well, yeah.
People
Wagner, yes.
Substantiated and stuff.
Okay, let's get. I want to change the subject.
Yes,
I want to hear something else.
Well, I want to hear. As I said, I want to hear either really lovely, positive stories about, or ugly stories about people. Either one, as long as they're true. So, tell me something wonderful or not wonderful about working with Liza Minnelli on Floor of the Red Menace.
But we're still not finished with Brando and Mastroianni.
Oh, okay. Tell me about Marcello Mastroianni then.
Mastroianni was a delight. You know, both of them are such natural actors. They don't sweat it. They're not consumed by it. They do it in a way that have fun. I mean, the thing about Mastroianni's playfulness is that when I did this movie with him, we would go out and have dinner. And at one of these dinners, a woman came over and looked at him and said, I know you from somewhere. This was up in Toronto. I know you from somewhere. And he would start with, yes, we grew up together in Long Island. And he made this whole story about horseback riding and tennis in a charming way. I mean, he wasn't irritated by it. And then eventually she knew who he was, and they got along well that way. But they were just so natural at what they did. I've worked with other actors, no names, and myself included sometimes, where you get nervous, was this good, was that bad, is this better than that? They just swim in it. It's like Elaine Stritch said about Brando, about acting. To teach him acting is like teaching a lion how to function in the jungle. He just does it.
There's just something so natural that it can. Well, the thing about you as an actor, Bob Dishy, is that I mention a name or people will see your face and they'll have seen you on Columbo or the many, many movies and things that you've done. And they kind of know there's a certain Bob Dishy style, a certain performance. What is, in your mind, the most un-Bob Dishy role that you've ever done?
I don't know, because I don't know what the regular role is.
Six to Pass while the lentils boil.
That was my first play.
That was your first play, but you wouldn't.
I don't know what my style is. I have an idea. That's in the eye of the beholder, in a sense.
Well, I mean, you've been called like Jewish everyman kind of character, and I did not make that up. I got that on the air.
No, I know that. And I remember somebody used to call me the Jewish Dirk Bogart.
Oh, and then also the Jewish lawyer very often.
From that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really ever feel connected to the business in a strange way. Because of all the hype and...
Well, that's very important. That's not, it's best not to get caught up in that.
I think most actors feel that way. They just know that the marketplace, which has gotten more of a marketplace than it used to be, most actors start out concentrating on the work and wanting to do it as best as possible, and then all those fringe stuff comes in.
I want to say something about the food for thought, because it's we don't rehearse. We do it. We rehearse a half an hour before the show, so that's very little. But it's very fun. It's very much fun. I don't know if fun is a noun now.
It's a fun, yes. Well, that's wonderful. I mean, that's good. I mean, it's a comic play anyway. You're not doing Streetcar. You're doing Lifeboat. What is it? It's called Lifeboat Drill.
Yeah.
When it started, way in the beginning
of Food for Thought,
when Susan Charlotte was starting it, we did a play. Elaine Stritch and I did an Arthur Miller play.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful experience. I mean, it was so spontaneous, because that's the advantage of Food for Thought, because there's very minimal rehearsal. It's not meant to be a rehearsed piece, so it's more alive at the reading.
And it allows the actor to take chances in a way. We're not directed in a certain, we're not given line readings, and of course we don't move around. We do a sitting reading, but what was I going to say? I don't know. It's a freedom. It's a freedom, and you can take risks.
Well, didn't you both start in improvisation?
We didn't start there.
In the middle.
We both worked through Second City.
Right.
At the beginning of Second City, before it became somewhat of a factory. We were there in the beginning years.
Yeah, it was a real deal.
And a lot of it, from my experience with it, was because Paul Sills was involved as a director, and I worked with him, for a year. And
Wow.
then, well, Judy worked in a later company, but also.
Yes, but in Chicago where it all started.
Yeah, it started in Chicago. I was in the first New York company down in the Village.
So did that prepare you, because you guys had such early training with story theater and also the Chicago Second City, to go into a thing like Food for Thought, unlike other actors who just, the first day of a reading, they're off book, and everything has to be...
Well, that's like the big difference between Marlon Brando and Anthony Hopkins. I like their extreme. They're both at the opposite end of practicing. Brando, of course, as you probably know, as most people know, sometimes didn't even learn lines. He would have, I really don't like to say this because I like part of the magic, he would have the words written out and pasted on parts of the set. And he would look at, and the reason he did that, eventually, of course, he knew the lines, was to maintain a kind of spontaneity to what he was doing. Whereas Anthony Hopkins wanted to know every line, code, backwards and forwards. You could wake him up in the middle of the night and he would know the lines of the piece he was doing. But also he was doing that for the same result, was for a kind of spontaneity.
Does he ever bother to say hello? Can he improvise talking when he's not on stage or on camera? He doesn't have to. He can talk. I'm saying he's not wedded to this notion about beforehand. He has to know.
No. I'm not talking about interpretation. I'm talking about just knowing the line.
Yeah.
It's like a musician, a concert pianist. They're going to know the notes, so that their second nature, they become muscle memory, so that his energy goes into spontaneity of the creation. So they're both.
They're both valid. They're both reasonable approaches.
There's different ways to climb the mountain, so to speak.
Yes.
And most effective.
Now, I want to talk just a little bit also to Judy, because Bob Dishy, I could throw a name out at him and say, well, let's talk about this person. But also Judy, it's true. Come on, I haven't even asked yet about,
But you didn't ask me about my friend Davey that I grew up with. You don't know about him or Marvin or Salvatore.
All right, tell me about one of them, and then I'll ask Judy about the electric company. So tell me about Salvatore or Davey. Oh, Davey's a good name.
They were great, these kids I grew up with. Unfortunately, most of them, they're not here anymore. They passed on, but I miss them. Because it was great growing up in Brooklyn in those days.
Well, tell me a Davey, a Salvatore, or the other guy's story. Tell me a funny anecdote of your childhood growing up in Brooklyn.
Well, Salvatore, we went to the same public school, and we lived on the same block. And sometimes we could each walk home for lunch because it was just a half a block away. And sometimes Sal would come over to my house and we'd have lunch at my house. And the thing about him, and I know this happened to other people, I would make Salvatore laugh, and he would laugh so much he would be drinking milk, and the milk would come out of his nose. I don't know if you're aware that happens.
Oh, yeah.
I thought when I mentioned that story, that's happened to other people.
Was Salvatore the one that you went down into the basement?
Oh, yes, but we don't want to.
Oh, no, that's cute. It's
Salvatore and I decided, what's it like to be drunk? When people. So
9 years old.
9 years old. So we go into my basement, and Sal got this bottle, I think it was scotch, and we sat there with little shot glasses, and I'd take a drink. Sal would take a drink. I'd say, well, how do you feel? I feel all right. You feel okay. Then he would take a drink, and we kept drinking and drinking. And then nothing seemed to happen. I wasn't aware of everything. Then Sal went home. I go upstairs, and I'm like in another world. Running around. My mother looks at me. That was...
Oh, good. Alcoholic poisoning. What could be a better time for a child? I love it.
As a result, I don't drink.
Good for you. Good for you. Except on Passover, you need the 4 cups. But other than that, but let me. So that was very cute stories of Bob Dishy's childhood. Let us ask Judy Graubart about her years on a beloved program, The Electric Company. First of all, we'll start, since we're name dropping and stuff like that. Morgan Freeman, you used to have crossword puzzle races with him?
Oh, yes, we did. How did that get out into the public.
Well, I read it in the Torah. It was in my Torah portion this morning. It mentioned this, yeah.
No, we had to spend. We did have dressing rooms that were somewhere in the ether, so we all hung out in the makeup and hair room, and had to while away the time, since we just wouldn't rehearse, because actually the show was so complicated technically to put up the words and to make us look like we were in midair. They had so much to concern themselves that we could sort of do whatever we wanted. I mean, we had to stick to the academic part of it, but yeah, we used to do a lot of things in that room.
Oh, okay, do tell.
Bill Cosby was on the show, and Rita Moreno was on the
Yes,
show.
of course.
And
So do you have any Rita Moreno stories and any Cosby stories? And they don't have to be like, oh, he gave me a drink and then I woke up, 5 hours later. I didn't know where I was.
Right. I found myself. I woke up and he sort of teased me in a way that there was a dressing room. I forgot about that. We had the makeup room and then the dressing room, which I'll do a side thing for you.
Sure.
Because we didn't rehearse these things until we got on the floor. We fell on the floor, but with the dressing room, because we didn't have to memorize anything. We did it enough times, rehearsing with the camera, so we didn't have to. But every day, you didn't really know what you were going to do. You had maybe 4 or 5 sketches, but every one of us had our own wardrobe. Just that long bar where they hung the costumes. And you'd come in, I know I would come in and I'd just look at the costumes and I'd see, something like a ball gown and then maybe a football helmet, and it was a treat. It was really a treat.
Well, that sounds fun. I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun. I had gotten the feeling, I don't know, I mean, there were certain people at that point that no one had necessarily heard of. Skip Higgins was Fritz the Cat and Luis Avalos, and then there was Bill Cosby, Rita Moreno, and Morgan Freeman wasn't known at that point. Was there? Did they resent having to do children's television at that point, or did they feel like it was a mission, like I'm doing quality work here?
If you follow Morgan, you know that he was not so proud of doing a show for children. I mean, he was reluctant, and he was, but he got into it after a while. There are at Second City, to warm up, you do some games. You play games that Viola Spolin made up for actors, and it's mostly it's exercises where you don't know who you are. You have to guess who you are. It's all pantomime, really. And the goal is, of course, to free yourself from earthly things and get into the theater things. And Morgan just thought those games were so silly. Well, they do look silly, but he caught on after. He was okay. He did have a good time.
Good.
But Viola Spolin was Paul Still's mother. Paul Still is the one who started basically Second City and this kind of game to free people, and started Second City in the beginning, which when I say became a factory, I just mean by that it became all these comics since the 60s who come out are successful have been at Second City, either in Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, because it's like a workshop to a form for which them to develop their talent.
There's one change that has happened when we did our shows. We had very few props. We had chairs, sort of ice cream kind of chairs, and maybe a piece of fur, like a lady's fur with the fox heads on it, and a hat or two. And we had to pantomime everything that we made our wear, which is what Paul called it, our scene. It was our wear. And then when we last saw Second City, they had real props, and that took a lot away from it, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have to plead guilty because one of the first shows with props I did with Dick Shaw, another actor there, and it was about two long-hauling truck drivers who couldn't stay awake. And in it, we had beer, and we actually used, real bottles to do that, and some props. And I remember Sills and Bernie Solins, who was sort of the business manager, saying, "Hey, that's the first scene where we're using all these props." And let it go.
Depends on the scene. Sometimes
it's a great training ground. If you look at all these people who've come out of it, and you'll know their names. Name any comic today or comic actor, and most of them, the original people from Saturday Night Live, and many of those people have gone through.
And Second City, of course, yeah. Now, can I ask?
Find us at home. Sorry.
Let me ask, because we have a little more time with the wonderful Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart. So, Bob, let me ask you, speaking of funny people and people who can be really funny on the fly, although a not funny question, you were in the last movie of Robin Williams. Any stories?
The stories about Robin Williams, well, I just had this one scene with him. He's a very, how do I say? I don't know him before. I know him then. He's a very, on this particular, he's very serious. I've done movies with certain actors, and they joke a lot. They're, comics who are constantly on. He's not like that, or was not here. He's very serious in what he's doing, and when he finishes a take, he'll discuss it with the director and the other actors, maybe try it again or something.
Right.
That's all I can say. Very dedicated to the work he was doing there.
Now, who's an actor that you've worked with who's really, really funny all the time and always making jokes and tummeling and always on?
Oh, I don't want to say.
Well, that's not a negative thing. That's a...
No.
Well, I'll say, let me see.
You find me.
Oh, I know. But it sort of keeps them awake. Martin Short.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
What's his name? It was on a TV show. But it's fun. I don't know how they do it, actually. Because I don't know how they still have the energy.
I have a famous person story.
Please.
Short. I was supposed to do a scene with Al Pacino in a movie that Bob was a major character. It was
Author,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had two scenes. One of them was a page or so with Pacino, but the day that we were supposed to do it, he had an abscess tooth. So what was left of me was the other part where I literally say, dinner is served. That was the extent of that. So I never did work with him.
But how was working with him, since you did Bob Dishy in that film? You were a major doctor character there. So how was Al Pacino?
Oh, he's fine.
Okay, good to know.
I don't know what these anecdotes are. You go on to work. It's like a craftsmanship. You go in there, and you do it. The ones who I was most impressed with were Brando and Marcello Mastroianni.
Well, let me ask you this, Bob Dishy. Your last Broadway assignment was in 2004 when you recreated Sly Fox again. So how come you haven't done Broadway, even in your 70s? You could have done. Was that a choice?
Well, I don't see any plays to do.
Well, not right now.
I didn't go after anything to do. After a while, it's also, if you're going to do something 8 times a week, you want to be able to, that it's challenging. And
I've been acting.
It's comfortable to do that.
I've been acting since my heyday. I've been acting because as a mother of a young child, we can't do much when they're adults and out away from home, I had to pretend lots of things. It's like, oh, that's beautiful, or, you know, it's just there's some acting involved in that.
Well, sure. Well, let me ask you. You also made, I guess, the choice not to work together in the quote-unquote heyday, like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think there's a quote somewhere where you say, darling, we're not the Lunts. Or you could have been. Was there a conscious choice of not really...
You bring up the Lunts for a certain reason. Do you know something? Because I would often say, Bob, let's do something together. Why don't we find something and do something together? And he said, Judy, we are not the Lunts.
We're working on Monday.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And we will be the Lunts.
Right. Okay, that's good.
Well, do you think this will lead to more projects that you might do together?
Well,
or
we've done a lot of these at Food for Thought.
Yeah.
Those kind of experiences there is doing it. I don't know what you think these plays are that you talk about to do.
Oh, well, I mean
now of course it's difficult because a lot of them are just waiting to be done somewhere because of the
course.
virus.
Rabbi, do you have an agent?
Please hook me up with yours. I'll do anything.
Well, we don't either. Just thought you might be connected to, put in a word for us.
I'm doing this Facebook podcast as a favor for my friend Dave. Does it look like I have an agent?
Well, tell us something about Dave.
Well, there's nothing to know about him. He's an interesting.
I understand he has a lovely wife.
He does. Oh,
do you have any wisdom? Are rabbis supposed to have wisdom? Don't you have that good rabbi story that is a metaphor for existence?
Basically, the Holocaust is a metaphor for everything. If you're alive and Jewish, look at the Holocaust and you will see the answer to everything we go through in this world. That's.
Except I think that the Bible or Jewish the writings encourage you to be fruitful and multiply and have fun.
That's fun. There's nothing more fun than being fruitful. And the multiplying part, that gets difficult. But the fruitful part, I could do that 5 times a day. As a matter of fact, I have 21 and a half beautiful children at this point. It's a lot, but we're trying.
Is it half boy or half girl?
We don't know yet. We're waiting for the head to take its proper shape. We're waiting at this point, yeah. By the way, we've been talking so fun and so delightfully. And by the way, we've only, I think, scratched the surface. So I would love to invite you guys back. If you're not angry at me for dissing Marlon Brando, I would love for you guys to come back to the DAVERHOOD quite soon, like the next time you're doing a Food for Thought production thing, and come back and do more with us in the DAVERHOOD.
With you and Dave?
Well, me and or I guess you don't like me very much, so maybe you can try it with Dave.
I don't understand. The only thing is, in other words, when you bring up that thing about Brando, that's the first I've heard of it. So maybe I'm just
do a little Googling. I could be misremembering. I just recall he was saying some bad things around the time he was acting with Matthew Broderick.
I'm a research assistant. I'll look into this.
Okay, well, please. Let me remind everybody, though, this is important, that on Monday at 2 o'clock check the time, but I think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
right.
Go to foodforthoughtproductions.com. Foodforthoughtproductions.com. And
is that how they get on? Zoom is just so alien to me. And how to do it, or we've never done it. I've done it once. I didn't enjoy doing it.
Passover, we did it.
All right. But the question I ask, is that because I know people can watch it through Zoom. So the address you're giving, is that an address how they can also get on it through Zoom?
I'm assuming, I'm giving the address of the theater company, as you know. So I'm assuming that there's a link on that page that will either bring you to be able to watch it through, like, YouTube or something, or maybe they go into the Zoom room and watch quietly while you guys do what you do. I don't know the logistics of it. You guys will be in person, though. You will be on the stage at 80 St. Mark's Place. I'm not going to invite people because you don't want lots and lots. It's a pop-up thing, I guess.
They already have the 15 or 20 people.
Yeah. But who wouldn't want to see Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart do what they do. It has been such a delight and such a joy having you in the neighborhood.
Yes, thank you.
Same here.
I wish you breaking many, many legs on Monday in the show, success and good health to you.
To be continued.
Yes, God willing. God willing. Have a most happy Passover time, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Shalom to you.
Shalom, shalom, bye-bye.
Uvracha. Bye-bye. Wow! Wow! Bob Dishy, Judy Graubart, me in the neighborhood. And now, Dave is coming back with more of Dave's Gone By. Oh my goodness, we are here live on this Saturday morning, having so much fun in the neighborhood. Wow, what a time that was. Maybe they can do Zoom next time and we can get them in to play the game, but let me go on gallery view.
They were awesome, yeah.
Just we have John Pielmeier, by the way, the playwright who was with us just a couple of weeks ago. John, did you ever work with either Bob Dishy or Judy Graubart?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well that scotches that.
You know,
I have no story.
Bob.
I did see on Facebook that those were going to be your guests, and I was hoping that they would play with us because I used to watch Judy Graubart on the Electric Company all the time.
Of course, yeah. Well, they were on phone only. They weren't on.
Oh.
In fact, there was supposed to be audio Zoom, and they couldn't get the Zoom to work. So it's lucky that we could even get them on the phone.
And Bob Dishy was in one of the first plays I ever saw in New York, Grown Ups.
That is.
Oh, right.
I didn't get to
That's
tell
Piper,
that
right?
story because that was the first show I saw when I wasn't taking.
It was not the first, but it was one of the first, which I believe was playing at the same time as Agnes of God.
Yeah.
Agnes of God.
Oh yeah.
I think
Where,
so.
where
I think
was
Well,
Grown
Grown
Up?
Ups was 81. Grown Ups probably a little earlier. I think I went to see it as like my first year of college.
Well, Agnes of God had over 500 performances. And it was at the Music Box, and Grown Ups was at I was either the Belasco or the Lyceum.
How do you remember that, man? By the way, we're talking. That's David Sheward, who's remembering all this.
Ask David Sheward if he takes like Omega or any.
Yeah, David, do you take like memory pills, like Omega acid, or just regular acid, like tabs of it from the 60s?
No, I'm not on the Mary Lou Henner level, but I do remember a lot.
I don't get that.
Mary Lou Henner has a photographic memory. She is one of these people that remembers every single thing they ever did in detail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's true.
Huh. Anyway,
we interviewed about it on 60 Minutes a few years ago.
Maybe I knew about it. Ironically, I forgot. So there you go. So we have John Pielmeier, we have David Sheward. And by the way, David Sheward is a theater critic, theater writer, and journalist and blogger. His blog is The David Desk. He's also on culturalweekly.com, theaterlife.com. John Pielmeier, playwright, screenwriter, and he just had a movie that he wrote on Lifetime like 2 weeks ago, which was called The Long Island Serial Killer. What was it called?
Right, The Long Island Serial Killer: Mother's Hunt for Justice.
I tell you, John, I watched it. I never would have watched it other than that you talked about. Well, no, because I don't watch Lifetime. But I was mesmerized. It was, I mean, the fact that
it's quite a story. It's quite a story.
Okay.
I idiot story.
The person talking is Leslie Hoban Blake. I didn't properly introduce her yet, but Leslie is also a theater critic. She's also on the. She's cuddling with her. Is there a name for that dog?
One of Blackie. Actually, it looks like a dog I had named Blackie.
You got to rename that dog now. That is going to be canceled so quickly.
I'm sorry. I was 6 years old. That's what we called the dog. You know.
That's okay.
Do I lose my powers, my special powers? Because
absolutely, yeah, indeed. No, because there's
actually anymore. Okay.
There was actually a Sinclair Lewis book about racism, and it was a family, and they called their dog was called like the N-word, and it was just nothing to them. It was part of this family's thing, and then they realized that the father is possibly 1/16 and 1/32 black, and it ruins their whole life in the neighborhood. And
What
it's
book is that? I was a
Sinclair Lewis. I don't remember the name of the book.
Now I have to go find it. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
Was it a
I don't
full book
remember the
or
name.
a
Of
novella?
Sinclair Lewis was the author. That's all I recall.
Wow, I adored Sinclair Lewis.
Interesting.
at one
It was great. Anyway, don't know how that came up. But anyway, here's what comes up when we play.
Because I named my dog Blackie. That's why.
That's
Without thinking.
what would do it.
I'll
See,
call him Whitey. Will that be better?
That'll be worse.
Go there.
50 here,
Worse.
you know.
yeah, I don't think. But why don't you just call it Potato Head, and then that'll make everybody happy. Yeah.
Skunky.
Can happen here.
Its name is Dog. Its name is Dog. That's its name.
Dog.
Joyce is reading through. It wasn't Elmer Gantry.
Can happen here.
Maybe.
Aerosmith.
No, it wasn't Aerosmith.
No, it wasn't Aerosmith. That was about the doctors.
Might have been Babbitt. What are some of the others?
No, Babbitt's about
I
the
actually think I
small
read
town,
that.
the small town creepiness of the people who are trying to get ahead.
I
You know
think
who
I
starred in
actually read
Babbitt?
that.
Rugs Runny.
Main Street
That's
also.
terrible. I'm sorry. That's.
Oh, Dodsworth, which is actually a character in a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Well, I don't.
Dodsworth is about finding love after divorce.
And how much is your dog worth? I wonder. Anywho, we're going to play the Today Yesterday game on this Saturday,
It's not Babbitt.
March 6, 2021. Here are the rules. We have 3 contestants, and we're so grateful and so delighted that you were all able to join us on this Saturday morning. We have 10 questions, actually 9 plus a tiebreaker. And each question is worth 2 points. And I've forgotten to do the roll a die. I always forget to do that part. So hold on.
John is a very worthy adversary in this.
Oh, yeah.
in this.
And we're very grateful that he's going to play with us again. So if I can get, since he is our very, very special guest, each of you, starting with John Pielmeier, to pick a number between 1 and 6. John?
4.
Okay. And sorry, David, but women second.
Sure, go
Yeah.
right.
You know, is that any worse than what I was calling my dog? Give me a break. You know,
No.
Go
David
ahead.
can go next. David, I will cede my right of prerogative to
All
David.
right. John, what number did you pick?
You pick 4.
4.
I will pick 3.
David Sheward picks 3. And Leslie? Leslie, with big old number 2. I probably should rephrase that,
For
but here we go.
victory, whichever, you know.
Oh, yeah, cool. All right, let me.
Or 5, if it's Roman numbers, it's 5, but never mind.
So we have, look at this. Leslie, you may regret this because David Sheward picked the number 3 and we rolled the number 3. So he gets to choose first, second, or third.
I'll go first.
David Sheward will go first. Okay. And let's see, let's roll that old die again. Where did it go? Safari, where are you? Here we are. Let's roll that die. And we have a 5, which is closest to John Pielmeier. So, with 4. So, John, would you rather go second or third?
I'll go second.
Okay. And Leslie Hoban Blake, last but certainly never, ever,
I'll be
ever.
thirds. I know, I got it. Yes.
Okay. So,
I love that, David. That's a great motion. I love that.
all right, here we go. We're going to begin with our questions, each worth 2 points, and each involving something that happened in world history on March 6th. So, yeah. Are you fishing for a compliment, David? Yeah, that's cool.
I'm having a whale of a time.
So a whale is a mammal, not a fish. A whale is a mammal.
Yeah, don't spout about that. All right, here we go.
Closer to my doggy than to a fish.
Every time I see a whale, I can't stop from blubbering.
Oh.
All right, enough. First question goes to David Sheward. Here we go.
Okay.
Somebody.
The year, and I
Somebody
remember this
stop him.
well, 1521 was the year. Happy birthday, dear Guam. You were founded today by this Portuguese explorer who was on his way to the Philippines and the Spice Islands. Can you name him?
Well, I think it's Magellan.
Wait, I've got to find my prop first of
I
all.
think Magellan was Portuguese. So I'm going to say Magellan.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, yes.
Well, David Sheward, you're like fine pudding. You are Magellan, really? Magellan, really? Anyway,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that is the correct answer. It was Ferdinand Magellan, who was on the Spice Islands. Well, good going.
Thank you.
Started. David Sheward with 2 points and the lead. But now we get John Pielmeier trying to his 2 points off this question. We move up 2 centuries to 1775 was the year. And this will be a multiple choice. Prince Hall became a member of Lodge number 441, the Grand Masonic Lodge of Ireland, which was stationed in Boston. Why was this notable? A, he was the third person to join a lodge after George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. B,
What's the name again?
the person's name is Prince Hall. Prince Hall.
Hall, okay.
H-A-L-L, Prince Hall, became a member of Lodge number 441. Why was this notable on this date in 1775? A, he was the third person to join the lodge after George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. B, he had been killed by the British militia, so his induction was honorary. C, both A and B are true. Or D, none of the above. Neither A nor B is true.
I will go with C. Both A and B are true.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
I'm afraid that is not the correct answer. Well, I'm sorry, but I fooled you, John. Well, let's see. I think I can throw this open to only one of you guys, but let's roll a die and see if you can steal this question. Roll, please. Thank you very much. Okay, it came up with a number 5. Number 5, which is closest to John, second closest to David. So, David Sheward,
Yes.
I will read again. 1775 was the year that Prince Hall
Right.
became a member of Lodge 441, the Grand Masonic Lodge of Ireland, which was stationed in Boston. Why was this notable? A, he was the third person to join the lodge after George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. B, he had been killed by the British militia, so his induction was honorary. Or neither of those is true.
Oh, okay. So, and John guessed both are true, and that was not true.
That right.
All right. Now this, so 1775. Okay.
Right.
So it was before, well, I'm not sure the exact date that hostilities started. And it was in Boston. So why would Washington and Jefferson, who were from Virginia, join a lodge that was based in Boston and be like the first members? That doesn't seem to make logical sense. So I'll say that it's either, so in my mind, it's either that he was killed by the British militia or none of these things are true. It would just be like you to say none of these things are true. So I'm going to say none of these are true.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. Yes.
You're beginning to psychologize me, David. And that psychology is good for another 2 points. It is neither of those is true. The true story is that Prince Hall, the interesting thing about being inducted into a lodge in 1775, he was black.
Oh, that is interesting.
He was an abolitionist.
Crispus Attucks at the Boston Massacre, right? He was the Crispus Attucks at the Boston Massacre, I believe.
He was with him. What's his name?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was he? I don't know.
But was he not with Crispus Attucks at the
I don't
Boston
know.
Massacre?
I do not know.
Possibly.
But what happened was that whole the regular Boston Lodge rejected Prince Hall because, and so he had to apply to a lodge run by British forces stationed in Boston.
Oh,
No.
interesting.
Prince Hall later founded the very first African American lodge of the Masons. So yay! So that's why it's kind of notable. Kind of a cool question. You know, more about getting that information out there than actually asking the question. You know.
Cool.
Anyway, now we have Leslie's chance to.
Why bother? I mean,
Oh, you know who played Crispus Attucks on television once?
Yeah.
Greg Morris from Mission Impossible.
really?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it was this variety special hosted by John Wayne where they did the history of America.
God.
And they had all these TV
That
stars.
great patriot, John Wayne, right?
They did little skits of from American history.
Say that again?
Did they perform little skits out of American?
Like little skits and little like Bing Crosby played Mark Twain.
Oh, wow. That must have been
Lucille
terrible.
Well,
Ball.
he did a Connecticut.
Well,
I
who-
think he did a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's
Lucille
Court. He might
Ball
have
was the
done.
Statue of Liberty.
That's cool. I dig that. That's actually.
Phyllis Stiller was Victoria Woodhull. It was very weird.
Can we find this? Does this exist?
It's on
anywhere?
YouTube.
Oh
Oh,
my
well,
God.
I will go watch it. That's
This is appointment YouTube vision. Absolutely right there. Anyway, wow.
to
Wow.
the universe. Yes.
So, Leslie Hoban Blake, I have a question for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
The year was 1835. Okay, and this is a multiple choice question. Writer and essayist Thomas Carlyle is busy working on his three-volume opus, The French Revolution, A History. But he had a setback today. What was it? Was it A, his friend's maid accidentally used the only copy of Volume 1 for kindling and burnt it? B, France's King Louis Philippe sent a cease and desist letter demanding the work not be published? C, Carlyle realized he had been using the wrong calendar and had to go back and revise every date in volumes 1 and 2? Or D, Carlyle fell off a horse and received a concussion that affected his memory, setting the project back more than half a year?
Wow.
One of these is...
This is a good one. Wow.
Thank you very much. So, I can read it again if you need.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the year was 1835. Writer and essayist Thomas Carlyle is busy working on a 3-volume opus called The French Revolution, A History. But he had a setback today, March 6th. What was it? A, his friend's maid accidentally used the only copy of Volume 1 for kindling and burnt it. B, France's King Louis Philippe sent a cease and desist letter demanding the work not be published. C, Carlyle realized he had been using the wrong calendar and had to go back and revise every date in volumes 1 and 2. Or D, Carlyle fell off a horse. The concussion affected his memory, setting the project back more than half a year.
I truly have no idea, so this is going to be a wild guess. He fell off a horse and couldn't remember what he had done. He fell off a horse.
He fell off
A D. Letter D.
Well, Leslie Hoban Blake, I'm afraid the answer to that is nay. He did not fall off a horse.
Oh, Mr. Peabody. Oh,
So we get to roll the die. Let's get to our roll the die. Oh, no, that's in Safari. I always mess that up. Hold on. We got a roll the die coming, and let's do it. The number came up number 1. So number 1 is closest to, well, Leslie, second closest to David Sheward. David, you can really build up your points here if you get this.
all right.
Let me read it again.
Okay.
1835, Thomas Carlyle working on The French Revolution, A History, but he had a setback. Was it A, his friend's maid accidentally used the only copy of Volume 1 for kindling and burnt it? B, French King Louis Philippe sent a cease and desist letter demanding the work not be published? C, Carlyle realized he'd been using the wrong calendar and had to go back and revise every date in Volumes 1 and 2.
This is 18 what?
1835.
And okay, let's see. All right. 1835. What was happening in 1830? Was there even an emperor or a king? Was there a king in France at that time to demand such a thing? And it may be the friend's maid, because if it was his own maid, she would know better not to burn it, having worked in the house. But why would he take the whole manuscript to a friend's house? Or was his maid sick and he had to say, "Oh, excuse me, sir.
John, are you making notes?
Your maid Fifi to clean the house because my maid is
John,
sick."
are you keeping notes for the next movie? This is the next movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
monk.
I don't think it's the maid. I think he had used the wrong calendar and had to go back and change all the dates.
Yeah.
The process of elimination, I'll say.
So is that going to be your final answer?
Yes, yes.
Or are you going to walk out the door and say, one more thing? Oh, I didn't get to ask about Peter Falk. I just realized, talking about Dishy, I never got, oh, damn. Oh.
What about Peter Falk?
Well, he was on Columbo. Bob Dishy was on a
Bob Dishy. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know why you suddenly said something.
Peter Falk in 1835.
Back on Zoom.
Okay, so David Sheward, here's the question. Here's the answer. Wait, which was your answer?
I said change the date.
Change the date. Well, I guess you hate your calendar, girl, because it is not that correct. That was
okay.
Yeah. No.
Right.
So, John Pielmeier.
Oh boy, I got two choices here.
Yes.
Was it Peter Falk's maid? I'm confused. Peter Falk's maid. Wait, who was sick? His maid. Carlisle's maid was ill with COVID-35, I think.
Yeah. I just made that part up.
Falk's maid accidentally burned it.
Right.
Oh
If it mentioned Peter Falk in the manuscript, would have had the maid accidentally pick up the. So I'm going to go with the maid.
Are you really? Because are you sure it wasn't Kojak's maid? Are you? Are we?
Don't be silly.
Is that the final answer?
That's my final answer.
Oh my lord.
Well, everybody ought to have a maid. Everybody, yes, indeed. This is what happened.
Oh.
The true story. His friend, Carlisle's friend, was actually John Stuart Mill, of his own free will, and Mill was supposed to write the book, and he didn't have time for it, so he sent the project to Carlisle. Mill's housekeeper got a hold of the manuscript and accidentally used it as a fire starter. So what Carlisle ended up having to do, he finished volumes 2 and 3, and then went back and rewrote volume 1 from scratch.
Mill didn't have time to write a 3-volume novel of the French Revolution.
I guess
that's quite something to say. He would even ask a friend to do it for him.
It wasn't a novel. It was a history, right? Was it a novel or a history?
Well, it was history. It was. Yeah. So there you go. Well, the mills of this show grind slowly, but they grind exceeding well, because we had a 4-2 to so far 0 game, with David Sheward leading with 4, John Pielmeier with 2, and Leslie still yet to get on the board. But we begin round 2, where the first question does go back to David Sheward, and we go just a little later in time to 1853. Okay? So, David, 1853, debuting today in Venice, a new opera based on a play and novel by Alexandre Dumas Fils. It flopped, mainly because the lead actress was jeered at for being too old and fat. For one point, name the opera, and for the other, its composer.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, how am I supposed to know this?
Well, I will give one hint on this for you. The hint is, it's the only opera by this composer to be set entirely indoors.
Oh, what a great hint.
Okay, let's see. I'm not an opera expert. My husband is, but let's see. Okay, Vienna, 1854.
1853.
53. So
did you say Vienna? David, did you say Vienna?
I'm sorry. I will read the question again.
Okay.
1853, debuting today in Venice.
Oh, Venice. Okay.
Opera based on a play and a novel by Alexandre Dumas Fils. It flopped.
Pronounced Fils. It's pronounced Fils.
Fils.
F-I-L-S. It's pronounced Fils. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
I know that.
Got it. So.
It flopped, mainly because the lead actress was jeered at for being too old and fat. For one point, name the opera. For the other, its composer. And by the way, this is the only opera by this composer that is set entirely indoors.
Okay. So it's an opera about a young woman, I guess. And I'm going to guess, oh, good heavens, what could it be? Oh, it's not La Traviata. That's different because she's an older woman. It's not Princess Turandot because that takes place outside sometimes. Oh God. Manon, let's go. No, it's not that. No, it's not that, because that was later. Because the last act does take place outside. They're in a swamp in Louisiana. Oh God. I
thought you didn't know operas.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say.
And it's not Puccini. It's not Madame Butterfly, because that's later.
Right. And I'll give another hint. It's not Nixon in China.
It's not Nixon in China, because that takes place outside. Some of them. They're at the airport. They're at the airport in the beginning. Oh God. The opera would be. I'm gonna have to say. Manon, Let's Go, which I believe was by. I know it's not. I don't Strauss. I don't know. Oh, okay. I'll revise my answer. I'll say Electra Strauss.
Electra Strauss.
I know that's wrong, but that's all I could think of.
Wow, you just came up with that like that. That was shocking. Yeah, Electra. Sorry. All right, but yes, no.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Point on that one, David Sheward. I'm sorry, but this could be a chance for one of the other contestants to move up in the ranks. So let me get back to. I wish I could keep roll a die on another.
This is my version of Claire's knee, by the way.
What do you think? This place is some kind of joint?
And this is Claire's other knee.
Now, John Pielmeier, you chose the number 4 early in the.
I did,
which means that you were closest to the number 5 that I just rolled.
Okay.
So you can try and answer this question about what opera debuted.
I think the opera's Camille.
Oh,
it's out of Camille, but I have no idea who wrote Camille. Bizet. There's my guesses.
Okay, so you're saying Camille by Bizet.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm afraid it's neither Bizet nor Bisbee, and it's not the correct answer. So Leslie Hoban Blake, you have a chance to get on the board with a steal right here.
Well, actually, I believe it's based on Camille, but it's Traviata, and I think it's Puccini. I'm pretty sure that's. And she was older. That was the whole point, David, because Camille is the older. But I believe that's what it is.
So you're saying it's.
Yes, because it's Alexandre Dumas is the only reason I know it, not because of that.
Right. But you're saying it's. Say it again, just so I have the final.
I believe it's Traviata, and I believe it's by Puccini.
Well, you get a point, Leslie Hoban Blake, because
it's not Puccini or it's not Traviata.
It is La Traviata. So it was never. I know the actress was too old and too fat. When we think of Camille, how old was she really? If she was old, she was probably like 28 and consumptive. So.
The same age as Blanche Dubois, actually.
Well, but it was Giuseppe Verdi was the composer of Traviata.
Oh.
Here's
I stumbled onto it in my talking, but I came up with the wrong answer.
Yeah, but the point was also it was indoors because everything had to be indoors. She couldn't go outside. She was like dying of consumption. And
I was going to say rent, but I thought that wasn't the right answer.
And they asked, consumption be done about this, but they couldn't. Mr. Peabody. We go on to question number 5, which goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is John. This goes directly to John, I believe, right? Yes. Here is your next question. Oh, we move all the way up to 1857. Hey, here we go.
Okay.
Roger B. Taney, the 5th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, handed down the majority opinion on a big ruling today. For that reason, history has not remembered him well. In fact, a later justice called it the court's great self-inflicted wound. What was the case?
What, 1857, you said?
1857 was the year.
Is this the Dred Scott decision? That's my guess.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, it is.
Oh, John, you're filling me with dread. That is the correct answer.
Okay.
Indeed. Great Scott. It was, in fact, Dred Scott, which said that African Americans were not American citizens. So well done, John. Well, did you all know that one? Was that too easy? Not to take anything away from you.
I think I knew, but I wasn't sure.
Well, this is exciting. We have a tie game. We have David and John both with 4 points, and Leslie with 1. But Leslie can get 2 more points right here if she gets this question right.
Sure she can.
Now, I know you liked when I started with a quote last time, so I'm going to do it again this time. The year was 1869, and here's a quote. I saw in a dream a table where all the elements fell into place as required. Awakening, I immediately wrote it down on a piece of paper. This Russian scientist made his dream come true today when he showed the paper to his colleagues at the Physico-Chemical Society. Name him.
So it's the guy who did the table of elements, basically, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I got 3 names in my head, and I feel like Danny Kaye in Lady in the Dark. With the Russian names. Mendeleev. Mendeleev. I'm not a big science person.
So are you going to go with that, or?
It's the only one yeah, there are 3, and I think that's the right one of the 3 that I have. I don't know.
Well, that was a very commendable answer. Leslie Hoban Blake. It was, in fact, Dmitry Mendeleev who came up with the periodic table. Well done.
Right.
Yeah. What a game! What a game! We have.
It's the closest it's ever been.
Yeah, Joyce is saying this may be the closest it has ever been. It's anybody's game as we move into the final round of the Today Yesterday quiz right here on Dave's Gone By. We're playing with Leslie Hoban Blake, with John Pielmeier, with David Sheward, and they're all answering questions, trivia questions about stuff that happened in history on March 6th.
Glad you've done that, Leslie. I would have guessed, my only guess would have been it has to end in V.
Right.
Get
Or
points
You
for
would have
that?
been right. On that score, you would have been right, John.
Or why?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, speaking of V, and this is apropos of absolutely nothing, but there's a restaurant near us that serves something called plov, which is like the Russian version of pilav, I think. Have you ever tried plov?
No.
Okay.
Have you had it?
No, I haven't tried it yet. I was going to try it before the lockdown and blah, blah, blah. And I
They
know
don't
it's still open.
deliver? What's the matter? They don't deliver?
Oh, so they keep the liver in it. I asked them to take the liver out.
Oh dear.
Speaking of which, I heard today on the news this morning that they have created the first piece of chicken from a cell that a vegetarian can eat because it was not ever a live chicken. It came from a cell.
Oh,
Wow.
I guess it was a live cell. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
it was a cell at Rikers, so I'm not going to eat that.
I
You
knew-
eat
I
the
thought-
toilet wine.
yeah,
You
I
eat
was
the
gonna say
toilet wine. Yes, it's a nice
So
toilet
it's
wine.
going to be which came first, the cell or the egg now? Or it's going to be like
Yes, that's
the cell or
one.
the test tube? It's like, it's going to be deciding the
Well, we're only this far away from Soylent Green as it is, so you know that's.
whole. Anyway, let's not stay soylent any longer and move on with the Dave's Gone By Today Yesterday quiz, where we give the next question directly to David Sheward. This is our 3rd and final round. 1945 was the year.
Mm-hmm.
After years of making these devices, both for carnivals and for pilots in the military in World War II, George Nissen received his first patent today for creating what invention? Multiple choice. Was it A, parachutes, B, trampolines, C, 3D glasses, D, water slides?
So something for carnivals and pilots during World War II.
Right.
So water slides really doesn't make sense. 3D glasses, that doesn't make sense either. The other 2 were, give me the other 2 again.
Was it parachutes, trampolines, 3D glasses, or water slides?
Parachutes, trampolines. Okay. And this was 1940 something?
1945.
Huh. Now, did they have parachutes before that? That's weird. Did they have parachutes before? I think they would have parachutes before that. Like during the war, because this is like the war is almost over. Yeah, I don't think it's parachutes because they would have had them before. Or maybe, I don't know. I shouldn't overthink this. If it's too late.
Too late.
Too late. Yeah. So I think it's parachutes or trampolines, and trampolines.
Final.
Oh,
wait.
Because they could have had them in circuses before this. Parachutes.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
1 shoots, 3 shoots. It could have been a pair of shoots, but that is not the correct answer.
No. Okay.
Oh, sorry, David. No,
Okay.
no. So somebody in. I can do the roll a die. Let's get that up there and see who might get to steal. Ooh, we got is 6 box cars? Is that what they call it? Or it's double 6?
That's when you get 2 6s.
2 6. So we have half a box car, kind of like it's like halfway on their way to Auschwitz, whatever. But I don't even know where I'm going with that. So.
Oh my God.
I hope.
John Pielmeier.
I'm calling somebody.
Okay, so we got trampolines, 3D glasses, and
Water slides.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is it close? No offense, John. It's closer to John because you go backwards. You don't go around again.
What? No.
Six closer to 2 than it is to 4.
That's what I thought. But
Am I wrong about yes? Wait, what? Yeah, it's close. Oh, wait, no. If which is
go backwards. If you go backwards from 6, then it goes to John. If you go forwards from 6 back to 1, it goes to me. That's what I meant.
Oh no, we're not rolling. It's not a circle. It's just like which number is close.
Okay,
the number
then it's
line.
John. Forgive me, John. I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
Well, she's a strong competitor. You gotta,
Just like in algebra, it's a number
I'm a
line.
sore loser. I'm a sore loser.
Well, that's okay. I probably am not going to get this right. So could you please read the beginning of the question again?
You betcha. The year 1945. After years of making these devices for both carnivals and for pilots in the military in World War II, George Nissen received his first patent today for creating what invention? Was it trampolines, 3D glasses, or D, water slides?
Boy, I'm going to go with trampolines. I'm trying to think what obviously all of them would work in carnivals, but maybe you'd use a trampoline in the military to train people to jump out of planes and things like that. So I'm going to go with trampolines.
And that is your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Well, you certainly got a bounce out of that question, John Pielmeier. Yes, that is the correct answer. It was, in fact, trampolines.
Sorry, Leslie.
Now, did you know, I didn't realize that the trampoline is the Spanish word for diving board. Trampoline.
Oh, interesting.
So I guess you're, yeah.
Is that what they use them for in the military?
I've seen the water slides in newsreels. They would put it out the door, and the guys would go down the water slide into the water.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how they use it in the military, but for training, for exercise, for
When I heard Liam Neeson, I thought it was going to be about a car. Anyway, I thought they would name a car after him, Neeson.
Oh no, it's not Nissan. It's Nissen, like Harold Nissen, the secretary of under Nixon or something. Who was
That doesn't help me. How do you spell it?
He was Ford's press secretary.
Ford. Oh, okay.
How do you spell it?
Nissen.
Ian, thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations, John. That was a toughie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, check this out. John is winning. He's got 6 points. David has 4. Leslie has 3. As we move to our 8th question, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, John, you get this question directly. You can really pull away in this game.
Oh dear. Now I'm nervous.
Well, it is a multiple choice. So we have a 1 out of 4.
Okay, I have a question before. How do you think up the wrong answers in the multiple choice? How much time do you spend thinking up these wrong answers? A, 1 minute, 3 hours. C, comes to you in the middle of the night.
Per question,
none of the above. You make it up as you go along.
It really depends on sometimes they come, and sometimes I literally spend almost half an hour working, asking a question.
I think that you should put in a note to Jeopardy and ask if you can write work for them. I think you should send them tapes of this show, let them see the questions that you come up with, and see whether they have an opening.
I mean, nothing would make. I would love to write for Jeopardy.
Well,
That's
nothing ventured, nothing gained, David, right?
Because they never have a multiple choice in Jeopardy. They're always like.
So I understand that, but if they just saw the lengths to which you will go to
Name
to embarrass us.
The answer is Crazy podcaster who's been doing this for 18 years and has no life. Oh, David Lefkowitz. Who is David Lefkowitz? Excuse me. So we get to John though. John gets to. You were just deflecting, John. You're just deflecting your nerves here.
I know.
How you do? Multiple choice. 1964 was the year. In a radio speech, Cassius Clay tells the world he's changing his name to. No, that's not the. It's Muhammad Ali. Which of these is not true about Muhammad Ali? Okay. A. In the film Black Rodeo, Ali rides a horse up 125th Street in Harlem. B. When the Supreme Court overturned Ali's conviction for draft evasion, Justice Thurgood Marshall abstained. C. Ali has been featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated more times than any other athlete. Or D. Ali threw one of his Olympic gold medals in the river.
I think the answer is B. I think Thurgood Marshall did not recuse himself there. I think B is the correct incorrect
answer. And is that your final correct answer?
That's my final answer.
Well, it was a third good guess, but a third bad answer. No, that is not. That actually did happen. I'll explain later, but that did. He did have his name. So we get to roll the die, and it came up number 2. So number 2 is close.
I wonder who gets that one.
Now, Leslie, whether you take it circularly or directly, you chose number 2. This is yours.
Thank you, David. It's funny because we all just watched One Night in Miami, right? Not
just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so the point is, it's in the air. This question.
I just watched a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Give us the wrong answers that are not in the movie. In the movie. Go ahead.
Do you need me to read I'll read it again. So Ali on this date told the world that he's Muhammad Ali. Which of these is not true about him? In the film Black Rodeo, Ali rides a horse up 125th Street in Harlem. B. The Supreme Court 1 week. Yeah. C. Ali has been featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated more times than any other athlete. Or D. Ali threw one of his Olympic gold medals in the river.
I'm just trying to picture Ali on a horse. The poor horse. Not true. I'm going to say the horse.
You're going to say that is not true. That in the film,
I'm going to say, well, it's the obvious one not to be true, you know. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Letting me know I'm wrong by doing that.
Yeah. I'm just horsing around, and believe it or not, that is true, Ali. There is a film called Black Rodeo about black performers, circus performers. And,
wow.
Well, no, I shouldn't say that because we still have a steal opportunity here.
Okay.
I believe it goes to David Sheward. So David Sheward, it's one of the two others. Which of these is
not true?
Not true.
All right. So it's either which of the two that are left again?
Two that are left again are he has been featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated more times than any other athlete, or B, Ali threw one of his Olympic gold medals in the river.
Now the obvious one, you would think that the obvious one would be the number of Sports Illustrated to be true. But I'm trying to think what other athlete could have been on Sports Illustrated more. And the other one, he probably did throw the medal. Maybe it could be either one. It could be either one.
That's how I write them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably he didn't throw it in the river. He probably threw it off a building or something, or he threw it in a creek as opposed to a river, or he threw it in the ocean as opposed to a river. But I think the Sports Illustrated one may be the one, because that's so obvious. You would think that's true. You would think that has to be true. So I'll say the number of times on Sports Illustrated.
Is that your?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, as someone who has appeared in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue about 5 times, I have to say. I mean, they put me in the back, but you can see me behind the models.
You were the staple.
You have actually gotten the correct answer. Muhammad Ali, which is the not true answer. So here's the deal. Muhammad Ali has been on the cover of Sports Illustrated 37 times.
Oh.
But can you, and this is not for points, can any of you guess who's been on the cover 50 times?
Oh, God.
Tom Brady?
Ooh.
Tom Brady?
No. Great answer.
Joe Namath?
No.
Secretariat?
You're still horsing around, aren't you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you one hint.
Mark Spitz?
Oh,
Yeah.
Phipps. Michael Phipps.
Ooh.
Mark Spitz. No.
Michael Phipps?
No, this is Mark Spitz.
Esther Williams?
Once again.
Oh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh,
No, not Jabbar.
Kareem
No,
Abdul-Jabbar.
not Jabbar, though.
Magic Johnson.
Larry Bird?
I'm hearing everyone except maybe the greatest basketball player of all time.
Will Chamberlain?
Michael Jordan. Guy.
Oh, okay.
So he's been on the cover of Sports
Not a
Illustrated.
sports person.
Wow.
He wasn't in a play. We don't know him.
Well,
so
there was Magic Bird.
Oh, that's right, Magic
Bird, written by Robert Simonson's brother Eric.
Right. Let me tell you all the and the viewers at home all the backstory on all of it.
That one about the football coach, right?
Lombardi. He wrote that too.
Yeah, different. Yeah,
and he wrote one about baseball.
Right. Yeah, I only saw the Lombardi one, which was pretty good. I didn't see the was Magic Bird
the
good?
baseball one. Was it? It wasn't Cobb, was it?
No, the baseball one was something called, I think, Bronx Bombers, and Peter Scolari from Newhart was in it.
Yes. And they had the guys up in the thing. It was over.
And it was
at,
a dream. The last act was a dream sequence.
That dream sequence was phenomenal. I love that. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay. No. I'm a theater. I'm hearing about Broadway. I'm like, yes, tell me.
Yeah.
But I wanted to clue you into the answer or the trivia about this question. First of all, Thurgood Marshall did have to recuse himself from on the draft evasion thing because
he was black.
No, because he was in the Justice Department when the case was first going on. So he was already. He couldn't. He had to abstain. He had to.
He was in the what department?
He was in the Justice Department before he became a chief justice.
Oh, so it was like the middle of the case.
Yeah,
okay.
He couldn't be part of it anymore.
Okay.
And this is the interesting, in Muhammad Ali's autobiography, he wrote that he was passing by, was going to go into a restaurant. It was whites only. He'd been in the Olympics, and they wouldn't let him in. So he got so mad, he just tore the medal off his neck and threw it into the Ohio River. He was just so angry at America. Some are saying that he really made that story up, but at some point he lost the medal, and he just wanted to write that in his autobiography.
Was this in Louisville?
I'm not sure where.
Right.
Where's the Ohio River?
Louisville was his hometown. Yeah,
yes, he is from Louisville. Yes.
So they're saying he may have just lost the medal in the move, and then in 1996, the Olympic Committee gave him a replacement. They did a whole ceremony and gave him another medal. So kind of just cool. That's what. It's not just about the contest. It's about the trivia. Okay, so let's see. David got 2 points from that. So that means. Let's see, 1, 2. David,
I'm even further behind than I was.
This is true. Well, yeah. Leslie has only 3 points. David and John are tied with 6 points each. So this last question, before we get to the tiebreaker, this could be the game right here. Oh my goodness! And it goes though to Leslie. So we could go to the tiebreaker if Leslie gets this right.
Unless it's a 3-pointer. There's no way I can do it.
Well, work on your jump shot, Leslie. Here we go. It's 1967. Okay, is the year. At the second annual Academy of Country Music Awards, Merle Haggard wins Vocalist of the Year. Which of these is not a song written and performed by Merle Haggard?
Now,
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead. Let's see what you came up with. I know you worked hard on this one.
I did. A, Bobby wants a puppy dog for Christmas.
Aww.
B, Santa Claus and popcorn. C, drinking myself awake. You had to watch last week, John. If you
Say that one again. Say that one again.
The third one is drinking myself awake.
Oh,
And D, I think I'll just stay here and drink.
And have some popcorn.
And have some popcorn, yeah.
The last were about drinking. The first, then there's what about Santa Claus and popcorn, and what was the first one?
The first one is Bobby wants a puppy dog for Christmas.
And I'm supposed to give you the one he didn't write.
He did not. One of these is not
It's not
a
real.
song by Merle Haggard, written and performed. So these are songs he wrote and sang.
And Dave, will you sing the song that is the wrong answer when we get it right? Please.
I know nothing about country
That's a little
music.
phrase for it.
Be careful what you wish for.
Okay, right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
You
Thank
know
you.
the song, Joyce? Will you sing it for us?
Yes, Joyce. Would you mind? Would you?
Okay.
No habla inglés.
Let me think for a second, guys. Okay. All right.
I'll read the choice.
Brain at work.
Yeah.
Brain trying to get it work here. Let's give me a break. All right. I'm going to do a David. I have to think out loud on this one. They all did Christmas songs of one sort or another, but what popcorn would have to do with anything, I don't know. He was Merle Haggard was one of those really heavy drinking guys. So I would think the drinking songs were his. The first song was about Bobby and a puppy, which is what a drunk would write in the middle, like a Christmas song when you forgot to get a present. Pure guess, Santa Claus and popcorn, which is probably the biggest hit that Merle Haggard ever had, right?
So you're saying that is not a Merle Haggard
But
song.
he did not sing that song.
It'd be much more likely, of course, to be a James Brown song.
Yeah.
Because that was the joke. John, you weren't here, but we had so much fun because James Brown has like 3 or 4 different songs naming popcorn in them for no particular reason. And so I had to bring this one back for this week of Santa Claus popcorn. But guess what, Leslie? Merle Haggard actually did write and sing a song called Santa Claus and
Of course he
Popcorn.
did.
Wow.
Back up.
Popcorn.
I would get it wrong. That's why he did it. He did that so that I would get it wrong today. No other reason.
Well,
Vindictive bastard he was.
now we have this is interesting. John Pielmeier, I just rolled the die and it came up number 4.
Uh-oh.
So you
Dun, dun,
could
dun,
actually
dun.
win the game right here.
Bobby wants something for puppy dog for Christmas, right? Was that the first one?
Yeah, I'll read the
Oh,
other choice.
yeah.
It was Bobby wants a puppy dog for Christmas,
Okay.
drinking myself awake. I think I'll just stay here and drink.
I think Drinking Myself Awake was probably a Merle Haggard song. Bobby Wants a Puppy Dog for Christmas is so rhythmic. It sounds like a song, but it probably is I'm going to go with the last one. I think I'll just stay here and drink.
Okay, is that your
That's
final
my final answer, yes.
Well,
Oh, I should
What-
have had a drink instead, right?
I can't say because David Sheward has a chance to steal. There's 2 choices left. So David Sheward,
So that was wrong.
that was the incorrect answer. Yes.
Actually, I think I know that song. I think I'll just stay here and drink. All right, so that leaves Bobby Wants a Puppy Dog for Christmas, or I'll drink myself awake. Those are the choices, right?
It's Bobby Wants a Puppy Dog for Christmas, drinking myself awake.
Well, I think Bobby Wants a Christmas. I agree with John that Bobby wants it. Well, that sounds. You know that song Santa got run over. Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yes.
Bobby wants a reindeer for a puppy dog for Christmas.
Sing some more for us. Right?
He's been so good this year. Daddy's a big old drunk and Mama's a whore. But the least you could do, Santa, is leave a puppy at Bobby's door.
Oh, you wrote that song.
Bobby is gonna wind up in foster care. So you may as well do it on a dare.
And this is why our David is not a country singer.
I think it's drinking myself awake.
Is what is
the lost leader, is the not real one.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Go ahead, sure.
Well, the alarm has rung to wake you up. That is the incorrect answer.
Okay.
That's the title I came up right here.
Okay. Just sing us a little bit of that. Just read us the rather lyrics.
That's the fake one.
But I didn't write the whole song. I just wrote a title.
Oh, well, let's see. I got so drunk last night that I had a tequila bite, and so I'm asleep, and I wouldn't even get up with an earthquake, so I better drink myself awake.
Wow, okay.
There you go.
By the way, that's a great title. Somebody should write that song.
It's a fabulous title.
Somebody should write that song.
Well, here's the deal. Here is the, we have gotten to the point in the game where we finished the third round, our ninth question, and it looks as if by 2 points, David Sheward has won the game. He's got 8 points total. John has 6, and then Leslie has 3. Everybody did commendably well. Would you all like to do the tiebreaker question anyway, even though it doesn't?
Sure, why not?
Thank you, Alex Trebek, for saying
Has anyone ever said no?
And I have a piece of paper right here.
I all over the paper today, but I dropped my pen. Okay, I got it.
So we need the pen and we need the paper. And
I got it.
when you guys are ready, I'll read the question, and then on a count of 3, 2, 1, when I get down to 1, you'll all hold up the piece of paper with your brilliant answers on it to answer this tiebreaker. And you're all ready. Here we go.
Yes.
The year 1950. Going on sale is this toy, which was made from 65% dimethyl siloxane, 17% silica, 9% thixatrol ST, 4% polydimethyl siloxane, and 1% decamethyl cyclopentasiloxane, 1% glycerin, and 1% titanium.
What?
Name that toy.
We won't ask you to read this question again.
Yeah, no. That's actually a song I'm writing.
Can you
It's
repeat it?
Okay.
55% dimethyl siloxane, just to get Tom Lehrer thing.
Yes, right.
Name that toy, 1950, going on sale today, March 6, 1950. The main ingredient was dimethyl siloxane, but it also had a hearty helping of silica, thixatrol ST, polydimethyl siloxane, decamethyl cyclopentasiloxane, glycerin, and, of course, titanium. So now hold up my little thing.
I just
Joe, when
changed
you
my
said you were in
answer.
the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, I said we were staple, which is a joke I stole from Laugh-In.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes.
Laughing, Paul, David, they want the joke back.
Yes. Ruth Buzzy as Gladys said that to Hugh Hefner. Said, "Oh, Mr. Hefner, people say I'm just." He said, "You know, Gladys, you're like something in my centerfold." Yes. Oh, really, Mr. Hefner? What? The staple. But
Oh, wow.
And then Bill Cosby came and raped her in his grotto. So there you go. That's
Oh.
no, I'm kidding. Anywho, do we all have answers to this question?
We're going to pick it outside your house like they did with Michael for his joke last week.
Then they're going to come after me for my dog's name. So, you know, we got it.
And by the way, Leslie, I love your mise en scène. You really figured out a beautiful way. I mean, it's a lovely the
That's the
visual.
one I'm on my bicycle. You know that.
Yeah, I know, but the way you've arranged the hat.
Yeah, it just happens. That's the backdrop. I thought, okay,
Oh,
that's.
no, it just looks better than you'll forget I said anything. You
She's a
can't compliment
director.
me.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I
You're
was
welcome.
I had to build every one of those things myself, and then.
It's all just a filter, you know.
I think that's also a name of a
She's
song.
really an emu.
And by the way, let's commend Leslie too. And saying, by the way, I know you tried to get on at like 10:30. We were still in the midst of the interview, but you were on time. You look great. The thing. I'm so proud of you, Leslie.
3 years old. You. Thank you.
I'm just saying.
There on time. Yeah. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. But I did send a note saying what time because I never got a note from you saying.
Oh, I'm so
what
sorry. I thought I said early in the week it was 10 or the usual 10:40.
Yeah, if it was
Give me-
really earlier in the week, if you don't do it Friday, it gets lost in the morass of shit that comes through that thing, you know.
Yes,
So
I
I don't-
love how my messages and my important emails and texts get lost
I
in
have
the glass and shit.
I have a box called pile of shit. That stuff goes directly. It just shoots right
Thank you.
down.
And I have one that says important stuff, you know. So.
There, that's the one I said. Yeah.
Yeah, let's suck up to the boss there. Yeah, right.
All right, here we go. Are we ready to show our answers? I'll give a 3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
and
I'm ready.
we'll display the toy that was released today. 3, 2, 1. Let's see it. I see the hula hoop. I see Etch-a-Sketch. And I see Play-Doh. And the answer, great, fantastic answers.
Let me get the thing. Where's the...
I'm afraid the answer to this question was kind of a stretch.
Oh.
And neither of you got it. Oh, none of you got it.
My other answer, Slinky.
Nope. Nope,
Oh.
wasn't Slinky either. It was, we're having a party. Everybody, silly putty.
Oh,
Silly putty.
Oh.
Silly putty.
That's different than Play-Doh.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's a,
Silly putty.
Silly putty never hardens. Play-Doh hardens. Silly putty always stays soft. So.
yeah, this is why nobody wants to marry it. But you know, I don't know what that means. I don't-
Or even spend the night
That's what
together.
he said, right.
Or
What are
even
these
spend-
numbers behind you, Dave?
There's what behind me? What?
The numbers.
Oh, but as insane as this sounds, this is the 788th episode.
Oh.
We've been on since 2002.
Consecutively, and no matter what went on in the world, you did a show a week, right?
I would like to say that, but there were times when we were on vacation, or there was a point when we moved and I didn't have a radio station to go on. So there, if I'd done every week, I'd be in the
Your
900s.
incarceration too.
Yeah, I know those years I was incarcerated. That was
That's amazing. This is the we're coming up on the first year of the lockdown in New York, and you didn't miss a show during the pandemic. There was never a
what else do I have to do? This is the only thing I do all week.
You know, I'm just looking at it from the big end instead of the
It was more likely I was missing shows before the pandemic because, you know, I had concerts to go to and things like that. Yeah. So let me first of all thank very, very, very much for such a delightful time all our guests in the DAVERHOOD playing the Today Yesterday game. First of all, our great new friend John Pielmeier. John, what are you working on now?
Oh, boy. I just started getting back into writing this last week. I took a little break over the winter holidays. I wrote a short story and I wrote a sketch, a tiny little play for a theater that's doing theaters near us are doing some Zoom plays. There were evidently some plays written in the 1930s by something called, I think it was the Freedom Project. They commissioned various writers to write one-act plays, and they're redoing some of them. The first one is a play by Orson Welles called Mr. Mayor. And I wrote, and they're asking contemporary writers to write companion pieces. So I wrote a companion piece to the little Welles play.
No pressure.
Well, yeah, you just have to live up to Orson Welles.
No pressure.
Is it called Mr. Governor by any chance? New York politician?
So where can we see this? What's the name of the company?
I don't know the answer to that. They're going to rehearse it and shoot it in the beginning of April, and it'll probably be on YouTube somehow mid to end of April. But that's all I know.
And let me also ask you, the idea of writing short stories in 2021. I mean, are you submitting it places?
No, I just write them for my own enjoyment.
Wow.
Cool. I'm bad at submitting things. I don't know where to send things. So.
Or you want to just put it on your website for people to read?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, I'm saying if we wanted to share, if it was in that condition, ready to be shared. I'm just saying. John Pielmeier, I forgot to write this down. You have the website johnpielmeier.com. Is that it?
That's correct.
John Pielmeier, Pielmeier. I hope you took that down. johnpielmeier.com. Let's also thank so much Leslie, Hoban, Blake, whom you can watch doing Critics Circle with our mutual friend Charlie Gross. This is where they interview artistic directors and people in the theater. And is there a new one? What's the latest, Leslie?
No, the last one we did was with Jessica Scher. This last 2 weeks. By the way, I got my first vaccination since I last saw you. Yes, I know. It came all of a sudden that they opened things up and Walgreens had, and I got a Pfizer #1, which I'm very happy about.
And how was it? I'm getting mine on Tuesday, so I'm like, how was it?
It was like a flu shot. That's all.
All right.
I got my second.
How was the second? How was it, John?
It was fine. Nothing to it.
Well, I mean, after, did you get fever? Did you get?
I got a little. Yes, I got a little. I got shivery and a little achy, but that was fine because I knew what it was. I wasn't concerned.
Pfizer or Moderna?
I was totally comfortable, and that lasted a little while, and then it went away.
John, was it Pfizer or Moderna? Because
it was Moderna.
My sister got sick with Moderna also. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it lasted a day or 3 days? How long did
it was at night. I came on about 11 o'clock at night. It was gone by the morning.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. And then you felt fine everything?
Totally fine.
David, do you know what kind you're getting?
I have no idea. I'm getting probably the low rent, the $1.99 store.
Just the damn version.
I mean the Hasbro shop.
And Dave Sheward, you already got yours, right?
Yes.
Both.
I've got my second. I had my second about 2 weeks ago. I was able to from Moderna.
Okay.
And
did you get the chills and the little?
No, my arm was sore for a day afterwards, but that's all.
Okay. I'm truly a needle phobe, so I'm just so dreading.
I can hear that in your voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish at least the J&J shot you get once and you're done.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion for you. Sit down, look at the wall in front of you, and start talking about anything. Talk about.
I sing. I'm terrible. I start singing.
It doesn't matter. Just don't look at the needle.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, no, I know that much. I'm literally, if the needle's here, my head is here, and I'm just like, la, 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 la. Literally, I'm just like out of my own head, about to faint, and I usually make it.
Bring a potato.
I have no trouble with that at all. It's funny. I don't have any.
I watch a lot of horror movies, and I'm not bothered at all when I see people beheaded or disemboweled. But if I see someone in a movie being given a needle, that I have to look away from.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me to get one directly myself. I'm fine.
Yeah. I beg them. Can you maybe do a catheter or something instead?
That's so much better.
David, for you a suppository.
That's so
Yes.
Thank
you very much. Thank you. And before I forget, let us also thank David Sheward. David, you can read his. So what's your latest? Have you been blogging about anything?
Well, I do have a review coming up, which will be posted soon on Cultural Weekly and Theater Life. There's very little theater to do now, so I reviewed some movies.
Oh,
Nomadland and Pieces of a Woman and Supernova, which are all on streaming services.
Here's a question.
You're making an expression like have you heard of those films?
I haven't really been picked up on movies.
A quick question. Do you pay for them, or do you get to the press people and they give you a link?
Well, I have all these streaming services, so I just.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I just watch them. I pay for Netflix and Amazon and Hulu.
Right.
So
I just thought maybe it was like on Disney or something like that.
No.
But it is fair to say, I've got to say one thing to David. I mean, it's not true that there's no streaming. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of streaming theater
We just
now.
saw the Debbie.
Oh, Well,
there's
yeah.
tons of it.
The Debbie stuff.
What?
Well, not as much. Well,
no, I mean, literally, you could watch one or two streaming shows every day and still not see them all.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So here's a question for the group. Would any of you set foot in a movie theater?
I don't know. I might.
Now, you mean?
Now.
They've had their shots.
I would.
I might because
Say yes or no, John, I couldn't hear you.
no, I might because if they were low, if everybody wore a mask and it was socially distant.
They are supposedly. I wouldn't go near a movie theater.
Well, even if wait, with both shots, masked, you wouldn't go. Forget a movie theater or a theater.
I don't know if I'll go to a theater. I don't know if I'll go to a Broadway theater. I'm having such a real problem with the idea. I'm sure that half the times I got sick in the last 20 years were from being in a theater.
Well,
I remember you broke your arm in a theater. Somebody fell over you, and you fractured your arm in the theater one time. Yeah.
Well, a guy fractured it. A guy fell on my arm. I didn't do anything. I was just sitting there.
Broadway, I think, is not going to reopen until we've got herd immunity, because they're not going to. The producers are not going to open at less than 100% capacity. They're just not going to do it because they'll lose money.
And I think the smaller theaters are going to continue to stream because I think they're finding it very easy, comparatively speaking. And I think that they can make what they need to make to keep going.
Well, we'll see. But I think it probably won't. Maybe the fall. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I also think the smaller theaters, if they're grant funded, they can open a theater with like 50% capacity in a way that Broadway can't, because they're not making their money from box office sales anyway. They're getting it from the government, and it's like, oh, let's do it, you know.
Well, there are also theaters like New York Theater Workshop and Irish Rep and a couple of others that own their own buildings. So they're not having a rent problem. They have to pay taxes, obviously, but they don't have a rent problem. So I mean, and they are getting money from streaming because they've been streaming all along.
And they have to pay everybody their wages.
Well, that's the problem. They have laid off a lot of people. But
and the playwrights like John have to be paid.
I have a play that is premiering in Houston in October. At the moment, it's a tentative date when they hope to get it up and running.
What theater is it? Cuts or where?
It's at a wonderful theater called Stages in Houston. They just, sadly, opened a brand new space 2 months before COVID hit, but gorgeous, gorgeous space.
And so
intended for this live, huh?
Theaters in it. So
we hope to have you on again long before then, John, if you're willing to play this game again. But certainly around that time, we'd love to have you back. And whenever really you want to come and play Today, Yesterday with us, it's the joy to have you.
I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment, a mind fart, as it were. Who won today? Which one of these guys won?
Oh, gee, how would you forget that? David Sheward was our champion by 2 points.
I must have been thinking something else for that moment. Thank you. Congratulations, David. I just want to say
David.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Arm. Right, okay.
Well, it is just about noon in the DAVERHOOD, which means, unfortunately, we have to say farewell for the moment to all our great guests. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
In the DAVERHOOD.
Thank you.
Have a great, healthy week, and see you all soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
That was a really good quiz.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Oh, I almost removed myself. Oh, I better not do that. Better not do that.
That's right.
Bye, Dave. All right. It is, in fact, noon Eastern Time in the DAVERHOOD. You've been watching the Dave's Gone By, Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream, with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful, adorable, and so supportive wife, Joyce, and all these incredible, fantastic, delightful folks that we have had on the program. I mean, just got to first of all do a bunch of thank yous. Thank you. And we're not going away yet, by the way. We haven't done Inside Broadway. We haven't done our Colorado Limerick of the Damned yet. I know. You can't wait. But before then, thank you so much to, first of all, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. Rabbi Sol did the interview with Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart. And that was fun. So we thank them very, very much as well. Remember that you can see Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart at doing on Monday afternoon, March 8th, they're doing a one-act Tennessee Williams comedy called Lifeboat Drill, and they're doing it kind of almost barely any rehearsal, just almost like cold reading, just all in fun. It's part of a double bill of plays, the other of which will feature our other friend Blanche Baker, and she is in a Christopher Durang comedy. Christopher Durang will be popping in via Zoom. Check it out. It's foodforthoughtproductions.com. Foodforthoughtproductions.com will give you the link to the Zoom that I'm hoping Judy and Bob will figure out at some point. But they'll be on stage at Theater St. Mark's anyway. Somebody else will be filming it. So it's Lifeboat Drill with them, a Christopher Durang play with Blanche Baker, all of it happening this Monday online. You can tune in digitally, March 8th, and I think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. For more information, foodforthoughtproductions.com. And by the way, thank you so much to Gary Springer for setting up the interview with Rabbi Saul and Judy and Bob. It was just, thanks so much to all of them. Friends of the DAVERHOOD, also our friends John Pielmeier and David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake. But we even do a segment every week that is devoted to folks who have been on the program in months and weeks and years past. We like to keep tabs on them. We like to let you know what they've been up to because they are friends of the DAVERHOOD. So here's how our friends are doing, or what they're doing. For example, Anne Harada, the delightful actress. Let me make that a little bit lower. Anne Harada, the actress. Let me make that totally lower. Okay. Anne Harada, you remember her from Avenue Q. She is in the dark comedy, streaming comedy called Smithtown, and you can watch that at TSKW. It's a very dark comedy. TSKW.org. TSKW.org. That is playing now through March 13th. So you have a week or two to watch it. Plus, want to let you know that you can watch still, even though Purim has passed, the Megillah Cycle, directed by our friend Mike Burstyn, featuring him and Avi Hoffman, Alan Lewis Rickman, Eleanor Risa, all of these fine Yiddish friends of the DAVERHOOD. Watch their show at congressforjewishculture.org. congressforjewishculture.org. I think that's on there indefinitely, but, watch it tonight if you get a chance. It's the Megillah Cycle featuring Mike Burstyn, Avi Hoffman, Alan Lewis Rickman, and Eleanor Risa. Want to remind you that now through the end of March, you can take part in Steve Kaplan's Comedy Intensive online. Steve Kaplan was the founder or co-founder of Manhattan Punchline off-Broadway theater, and now he basically coaches people how to write comedy screenplays. Steve Kaplan's Comedy Intensive online, kaplancomedy.com. Gabriel Barr, or I'm sorry, it might be Barry, B-A-R-R-E. Forgive me for forgetting. I think it's Gabriel Barry. He is directing a virtual musical called Lights on the Radio Tower. It's part of OHM TV Streams on 5. Unfortunately, I just don't follow or know any of that stuff. But it's now through March 25th, the musical Lights on the Radio Tower, staged by our friend Gabriel Barry. Now through early April, Jill Eikenberry. Wow. She was on with her husband, Michael. This is cool. We've had a couple of husband and wife teams on this show. Everyone from our friends Friendy through Jill Eikenberry and Michael Tucker to Judy Graubart, and Bob Dishy today. So, newnormalrep.org. You can watch this play, Jericho, which features Jill Eikenberry. That is happening now through early April. Newnormalrep.org. And yes, Jorma Kaukonen. It's been a year now. He is still doing weekly Saturday night concerts at the Fur Peace Ranch that he, I guess, owns, and you can watch them for free on youtube.com on his channel, Jorma Kaukonen. Of course, he is the former member of Jefferson Airplane and current member of Hot Tuna and Electric Hot Tuna. Want to let you know that a review of songs by Broadway composer Stephen Schwartz called Snapshots. That is being done virtually by the York Theatre this weekend, today and tomorrow. And unfortunately, we've never had Stephen Schwartz on the show, but one or two songs in the review he wrote with our friend Alan Menken. So definitely check that out. It's Snapshots. That is happening at the York Theatre's website. We mentioned Blanche Baker in For Whom the Southern Bell Tolls, along with Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart in Lifeboat Drill. That is happening on Monday. And again, always telling you that Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are doing duets of popular song on their YouTube page. Evan Seplow is the founder of StageBuddy.com. Dr. Demento is the founder, of course, of DrDemento.com. SoundsOfBroadway.com is a 24-hour channel of show tunes that was created by our friend Stuart Brown. David J. Gerstein is doing live Facebook shows Tuesday nights at 8. Ellie, the King of Broadway. If you've never seen his Facebook show, it's something to see. Ellie, King of Broadway on Facebook. And finally, of course, Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the DAVERHOOD. It'd be cool if James Brown were around in the time of, like, Haydn. He'd be like, good foot, get down, ha, hot pants, got to dance, shake it, get down, ha, hey. Maybe it wouldn't be so good if James Brown was still around, or was around at that period. Anyway, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. We also, though, have to do a little bit more of theater business, because I do love Broadway and theater, as you saw by watching this program. And also, I mean, I've been a theater critic, a theater journalist, a playwright, an actor, a director. Love it all. And I'd like to let you know what's happening on the stages of New York, even when nothing is happening yet on stages inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Get down. So yes, we are getting down to business with some Broadway news here on Dave's Gone By. Think of this as a report from the field. As literally, I mean, here we are, it's March 6th, and I don't remember whether it was March 9th or 10th or 11th was the last day that I was in New York City. Last day I went to the theater. I saw the Bob Dylan-based musical called Girl from the North Country. Went with my friend Jeff, and I've told this story before, but this is absolutely true. We went to the theater. It was like a Wednesday or a Thursday night. And we saw the show. It's not my favorite show. I respect it a lot more than I really liked it, but I enjoyed being there. I had seen it off Broadway, went to see it on Broadway, and J.O. Sanders, our friend of the DAVERHOOD, was in it. So we're watching it, and we notice as we're getting up to leave that there's two women sitting in the row behind us, two Asian women, and they both have masks on. And Jeff and I looked at each other and we're like, really? Walking around wearing a mask all day? Who knew? And a couple of days later, and the world changed, and literally have not been back into Manhattan since then. But anyway, it's been a year. All Broadway shows are still currently on hiatus, technically through May 30th. But the general agreement is things won't really start percolating until, really after Labor Day. September, October. There was talk of Hamilton doing or trying to do something around July 4th.
What?
I know. I know. Joyce and Hamilton. We'll see. I mean, Hamilton could get away with having to do something for free with all the money that they've made and let in 100 lucky people and so I don't know what they want to do. But anyway, so here's the deal. Things are starting. So in early April, Broadway's Music Box Theater will start taking part in New York State's New York Pops Up program. That has already started. They are already going to various places, mostly outdoor, in the city, in and around the boroughs, and doing concerts, doing impromptu reviews or quick little plays and things, and they're not publicizing it. They don't want 1,000 people to show up at one time. That defeats the purpose. It's the idea of, oh, you happen to be around and you hear about this thing, and like 50 people show up in masks, distanced, and watch something from a storefront from outside, or go into a very distanced kind of a place, or a micro theater thing where there's only 5 people in the room at the time. New York pops up. It's happening. But by April, the Music Box Theater on Broadway will be taking part in these kinds of performances too. Let's see, some flex venues that will also open in April with socially distanced seating include the Park Avenue Armory, St. Anne's Warehouse, Harlem Stage, and La Mama. So here's the deal. Here's what they're thinking about so far. Now, all these places can have 33% maximum occupancy, a limit of 100 people, assuming that they're masked, whereas 150 if they provide proof that I don't know if it's that they've been vaccinated or that they don't have COVID. Everybody has to be COVID tested and prove it, and then they can put 150 in instead of 100. Still, by the end of the summer, we should have the Tribeca Film Festival back, with Broadway looking for October to really start ramping things up and maybe be back to some version of normal by early 2022. As David said, the issue with Broadway is that because it's a commercial enterprise and you've got producers and costs and union rules about what you have to pay everybody, producers are just not, they have to make the numbers crunch. And they can't do it even if they have 60% capacity. They've got to let the theaters be full when they can be full. Now, of course, the joke is it was only a handful of plays that were 100% capacity all the time anyway. Most plays, they did well on the weekends, and during the week they maybe had 70 or 80% capacity. But we'll see. We'll see how that all works out. I do want to say farewell from the DAVERHOOD to a couple of people that we lost this past week from the world of theater. Farewell to Joan Weldon, actress, age 90. She had died back on February 11th, but they just announced her passing this week. She is really best known from the movie world and the cult horror movie classic Them, about giant radioactive ants. And she also did a bunch of other films. In a short period for Warner Brothers, she started as a singer in the San Francisco Opera. As a matter of fact, at age 16, she was the youngest contract singer ever at the San Francisco Opera. And then by 1958, she was in the national tour of The Music Man opposite Forrest Tucker. The guy from F Troop was playing Harold Hill. I'm trying to picture it. I'm trying to hear it too. And then she dealt with another Forrest and Wright and Peter Stone, when she was on Broadway in the musical Keane, which those guys wrote, and she co-starred with Alfred Drake in that one. And then her only other real New York theater credit was The Merry Widow, which she did at the State Theater of Lincoln Center. It's now the David Koch Theater. And she is on the original cast recording of that. So a big farewell to Joan Weldon, who passed away a couple of weeks ago, but we just found out about it in the Theatrical DAVERHOOD. And speaking of the Theatrical DAVERHOOD, you're going to want to get yourself copies and subscriptions to this wonderful, long-running journal, this magazine, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway since 1944. This is where the theater industry, the entertainment industry turns when they want to know everything about every single show on, off, and off Broadway. Now, you're going to say, Dave, there are no shows on, off, or off, off. There's a couple off that are doing pop-up things, but there's not. So I will counter that and say, not yet, but there's a ton of things on the runway. And as things start to percolate, once we really get into the summer, it's going to be a ton of news, a ton of openings announced and previews announced. You're going to want to be able to get all that information, and it will be in here in the pages of Performing Arts Insider. So we go through it. Look at that. We've got the table of contents page, which also includes a map of the Broadway district and all the shows that were running when Broadway closed down a year ago and hope to be back. Shows that were just about to open and never got a chance to and are going to try when Broadway comes back. And then shows that were planned to open in 21, 22, 23 that are still planning to open. All that just on one page. Then we get to a guide to every single theater on Broadway, how many seats it has, who owns it, what's playing in it or will be playing in it. We get to the next page, and this is a list, and this is crucial to people in the entertainment industry, a list of all the press agents, the folks who represent the shows. So if you want to contact somebody who is in or has designed or written a Broadway show, you go through these folks. This has their email addresses and their phone numbers, the press agent's guide. And then, of course, the magazine with the list day by day of shows. Now, granted, all these shows are currently on hiatus, but when they start having opening dates and preview dates, for example, that will probably change. American Utopia was supposed to come back to Broadway, the David Byrne show, on September 17th. Might be a little early, but we still have that date down. And then we were talking just now about The Music Man. Well, they're bringing The Music Man back to Broadway with Hugh Jackman. It's set to start previews at the very end of this year, December 20th, and then open on February 10th of 2022. It was delayed a couple of times because of the pandemic. If you want to keep finding out what's happening with The Music Man and all these other shows on, off, and off Broadway, this is the journal to which you turn. We've also got the Broadway guide, of course, and off Broadway, very, very comprehensive listings of all these things. And then how can I forget, and a very important aspect of the magazine during these times, our guide to virtual theater. These are the shows that I was talking to David Sheward about that you can watch right on YouTube or on Broadway HD or Netflix or wherever, Vimeo. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of shows, many of which you can watch absolutely for free, that were either recorded years ago and saved, even though they're theater, or are, of course, the Zoom and virtual shows that are being done. We group them together in a very, very handy and helpful column. So if you're still home, if you haven't gotten your shots yet, and you realize you're still going to be pandemicking and quarantining for weeks to come, and you want to watch some theater, get Performing Arts Insider, get that column. You can't find it anywhere else. Go to performingartsinsider.com, performingartsinsider.com to subscribe. It comes to you 12 times a year in hard copy, or to save a little money, you can sign up for the PDF version only. Either way, this is and remains the Bible of Broadway, Performing Arts Insider. Well, a little bit more of performing arts and theater to tell you about, to say a big farewell. I think we mentioned this play when we were doing Today Yesterday, but farewell to the guy who wrote Mass Appeal, a hit Broadway play in 1981, Bill C. Davis, who died at the age of 69 after a brief illness on February 28th. It wouldn't even occur to me, because he wrote this play, Mass Appeal, about priests. He was partly Jewish, but he was educated in Catholic schools, and he wrote this popular play called Mass Appeal, which pitted a gung-ho young priest against an established, go-through-the-motions older one. It started at off-Broadway at Manhattan Theater Club, with Milo O'Shea, and Eric Roberts was in that original production. Then Michael O'Keefe went into it, went to Broadway. It won the Outer Critics Circle John Gassner Playwriting Award. And if you know the show, it's probably because you also watched the movie. Davis wrote the screenplay for the film in 1984, and that starred Jack Lemmon and Zelchko Ivanek. Davis also wrote the Broadway shows Dancing in the End Zone, which ran about a month at the Ritz Theater on Broadway and featured our friend of the DAVERHOOD, Lawrence Luckinbill. And then he had a few shows off Broadway, like A Vow, and a lot of shows across the country and in other theaters with titles like The Sex King, Spine, Concierge, and The Human Cocktail. Pay attention, because this could end up being a trivia question one day. And in LA, he had a play called Wrestlers that he appeared in opposite Mark Harmon of NCIS fame. So anyway, a farewell to playwright and screenwriter Bill C. Davis, who passed away at the end of February. We tip our hats to everyone, living and dead, who tries working in theater in this challenging time inside Broadway.
It's the famous gay white way, where the night is bright as day. Ain't Broadway grand? It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air. Ain't Broadway grand? It's excitement, it's romance, it's all fun and song and dance. This wonderland
Popcorn!
can be a millionaire quicker here than anywhere.
Hey!
Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, Broadway is grand. Doing this program is grand. I love doing it every single week from 9 until noon or thereabouts. Remember that you can contact me. Dave's Gone By at AOL.com is the way to do that. Yes, still have the old AOL address, Dave's Gone By at AOL.com, or you can certainly post messages right on this Facebook page under the program, or if you are a friend on Facebook, of course, you can personal message me the usual way. Either way, I would love to hear from you. Please do check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2. It's Radio Dave and the number 2. Or I'm even trying, I'm having moderate luck. It depends on the day. Sometimes my computer will allow me to post on Instagram, other times not. But I do have an Instagram feed. It's david.lefkowitz. Try and find it, and try and show me how to post from a Mac onto Instagram. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anywho, check me out there. And by the way, speaking of things to check out, let's thank our great sponsor friends at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway since the mid-1970s. The Toron family has owned and operated the Minuteman franchise right in the heart of Hewlett, Long Island. So they're only 2.5 blocks from the train station. They're right in that cool shopping center where they've got the chocolate store. That's all I really care about is the chocolate store. They're in a new falafel place. It's Hewlett Minuteman Press. And let's see, our very, very, very special guests in the DAVERHOOD were Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart. So let us do D and G. Here we go. Here are the D's. D for Dishy. Hewlett Minuteman can help you with date stamps, decals, desk signs, desktop publishing, die cutting, diplomas laminated, door hangers. Oh, I think I know what those are. And drinkware. Drinkware. Drink till you're awake. There you go. And then we have G for Graubart. Graubart. I'll get it someday. Where do I get the G's from? Here's G. See if I can show this so I can actually read it. La 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 la. By the time I get this, where is it? F, there's L, there's J. Why am I having so much difficulty with this? This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. Gifts. Gift certificates, gift stationery baskets, gift, what is that? Napkin sets, glassware engraved, golf tee signs, we love those, graduation announcements, and graphic artist on staff. So they'll design your holiday cards. They will design your wedding announcements and invitations. All of that and more done by our friends at Hewlett Minuteman Press, 516-569-5577, area code 516-569-5577. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. Give them a call, 516-569-5577. 5577 Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. What'd you see, Joe?
I'm in my own head.
But anywho, we have one more item of business to conduct with you today in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By. We've had so much fun. I mean, come on, with fabulous interview with Rabbi Saul and Bob and Judy and Ted and Carol and Alice. The fun with the Today Yesterday quiz with David and Leslie and John. And we had, we enjoyed Inside Broadway and Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Let's bring it down a notch for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And this is where we go to a different city in Colorado or a town or some municipality. And I write a terrible, rude, dark, disgusting, awful poem about it. And I've been doing this for many, many, many months now, let alone weeks, because I have well over 150 of them. And this week, we go to a place called Pine, Colorado. Pine, Colorado. And so, cone on with me. Oh, no. They should put me a cone of silence for that one. What's pine? I need a pun. A pine pun.
I'm pining for you, honey.
Oh, Joyce is pining for me. That's sweet. So, once upon a time, it was time for the Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain,
So yes, I'll bet you never heard of Pine, Colorado, but it does in fact exist. It is also known as Pine Grove, same place. It's a tiny town in central Colorado, south of Denver. Every year, check this out, they hold a rhubarb festival.
Oh, boy, there you go. Who knows?
Salute, yeah.
Who says, you have, a town can have a good time.
Hey, what do you get when you cross that and Rossini?
What?
The rhubarber of Seville. Yeah, I know. Anyway, Pine, Colorado, tiny little town, but it's one of these typical Colorado places with lots of open spaces, trails, parks, plus they're known for having the Buck Snort Saloon and Family Restaurant. The Buck Snort. Doesn't that make you hungry right there? The Buck Snort Saloon.
When I think of getting fine dining, I do think of buck snorting. Yes.
I do indeed. Anyway, and you know where you get coffee?
Where?
The Starbucks Snort Saloon.
Oh,
I don't even know what that means. Ladies and gentlemen,
Don't too soon. Don't go there.
without further ado or a don't, it's time for a Colorado Limerick. I will tell parents and stuff. This one isn't, this one's actually kind of G-rated. I'm so ashamed. It's clean. It's just sad and dark.
Oh.
So, behold, the Colorado Limerick of the Damned for Pine. A prim little lady from Pine went out and had way too much wine. She got in her car, but didn't drive far, and now she has rods in her spine.
Oh, God.
A cautionary Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby@aol.com, or post them right here on the Facebook page. Tell everybody, please, about the show. Tell them they can watch the episodes live on Facebook Saturday mornings, or the archives at davesgoneby.com, archive.org, castbox.fm, or our YouTube page. Or, what else can they do? Or you can watch excerpts of the show Mondays at 1 a.m. and Tuesdays at 4 a.m. if you have Comcast on Channel 20 here in Nassau County. Well, I always forget, I've been saving more and more and more of the stuff that I've written over the years. And if you're at all interested in that, in all my song lyrics, in the theater reviews, hundreds that I've written, in my plays, my one-act plays, I'm consolidating all of this stuff in one place, davelefkowitz.org. Dave Lefkowitz, and there's no T in there, except at the end, davelefkowitz.org, and check it out. You might get a laugh out of one of my plays, or if you're an artistic director and you're thinking, theater's going to be opening up in a couple of months, I need a play to do. Please. Anywho, davelefkowitz.org. Please check that out. Well, I've been very pleased indeed by the guests that we've had in the Daverhood. Let's thank them one more time. Or actually, no, I'll thank them after I do this and tell you about the upcoming Friends of the Daverhood. People who are going to be with us on the program over the next couple of weeks. Next Saturday, March 13th, usual time, we will have the comedian Bill Kirchenbauer. He will be with us in the Daverhood. He was on Carson a bunch of times. You've seen him on sitcoms and stuff. If you go looking for his comedy stuff on YouTube, it's very funny. It holds up. No, 35, 40 years later, it holds up. He's funny.
That's awesome.
And he will be with us.
That's something you can say about everything. You know?
Yeah, because sometimes you get the comedians on and it was cute for its time. It was amusing. It played on Carson. It was on, Make Me Laugh or something. And then you look at Kirchenbauer stuff and it's like, oh my God, this would be funny now. So Bill Kirchenbauer, talking about his life and career, will be with us on March 13th. And then the week after that, it is confirmed, March 20th. Yes, indeed. It's, we will have Hershey Felder in the Daverhood. Joyce and I watched his it's not really a one-person show, his theatrical film presentation about one of Shalom Aleicham's stories, and that was quite enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
He's done pieces about Tchaikovsky. I saw him on Broadway in George Gershwin. I think it's called George Gershwin Alone. So Hershey Felder, he has made this career of being both an actor and a really fine piano player, and we're very often putting them together. So you do not want to miss Hershey Felder joining us in the Daverhood on March 20th. And then on March 27th, long delayed, a month delayed, a family friend, or a friend's family's friend, and someone who grew up in this area, but very importantly was in a sort of a psycho garage band back in the day when a song called 5 Years Out of My Time, I think it was called, made it onto the Nuggets Rhino compilation and basically landed the third Bardo, a tiny place in rock and roll history. Well, we have a member of the third Bardo coming to Dave's Gone By on March 27th. His name is Richie Goldklang. He was gonna be on a month ago, and then I think I told you about this. I haven't shown you the photo. I hope he will allow me to in 2 weeks. But he's been going like through the dental surgery of absolute hell. So he said, Dave, I'm sorry, I can't appear with you at the end of February on the program because I'm going for dental work. I'm like, dental.
No.
Here's a picture.
It was more than dental work. It was bad.
And it looked like...
bad. It looked like he got run over by a car or something. It was bad.
It looked like...
It was bad.
It looked like he got run over by a car that an airplane fell onto.
It looked bad.
We talked about World War II before. World War II took place on his face. He's like these giant black bags here and this and blood in his mouth and his eyes and his hair. And it's one of the greatest pictures I've ever seen of another human being. So I say, okay, Richie, we don't have to do it this week. Let's put it off. And finally, I'm hoping by the end of March, Richie Goldklang will have his mouth in a place where he can smile and be part of Dave's Gone By. So coming up, Bill Kirchenbauer, Hershey Felder, Richie Goldklang, not a bad slate of folks coming into the Daverhood in the month of March. But once again, let's thank the folks who were here today. For example, Leslie Hoban Blake. Be sure to watch her video cast with Charlie Gross on their YouTube channel. It's called Critics Circle. And plus you can go watch their old Two on the Aisle shows by going to Charlie's other YouTube page. I want to also thank so much to Gary Springer for setting up the interview with our great new guests, Bob Dishy and Judy Graubart. Talk about fun. What a great team they were. What fun they had with Rabbi Saul, Bob Dishy, and Judy Graubart appearing together this Monday afternoon. I think it's at 2 o'clock. You'll have to go check for it. Just do a little Googling. It's easy to find. Or go to foodforthoughtproductions.com. foodforthoughtproductions.com to see the two of them appear in the Tennessee Williams one-act comedy Lifeboat Drill. This is happening on Monday live. They're doing it in a theater on St. Mark's Place, but they'll be taping it and live streaming it, and you can watch the Zoom. It's Judy, Graubart, and Bob Dishy together again, and with us for the first time in the DAVERHOOD. What a joy. Thank you also to John Pielmeier, the playwright, who, as he said, he's got a show that'll be coming up in Texas in person. He also, what was the other thing that he wrote a short story? He was saying something else, some stream show that they're going to be doing.
Oh.
He didn't have many details on it.
Wait, your guest from the quiz today.
Yeah, John Pielmeier.
He was talking about it's a 1930s one-act play, and then they're doing the second half. He wrote a second half.
Yeah,
as well,
a companion
so,
thing. He
didn't
didn't
know
have
the details. He said to let people know on Zoom.
So certainly, a
They're still
prolific.
working out the details,
So great that he's, whether somebody reads his stuff or not. Oh, he felt like writing a short story. He wrote a short story. That's a great way to live for an artist. So yay to John Pielmeier. Thank him for being with us in the DAVERHOOD. Thank you to David Sheward, the king of trivia today.
Yeah,
Read him.
I think he's undefeated, right?
Oh, no, there were times Leslie won, and then one time Friendy won.
Oh, really?
Remember? Yeah, Friendy won a couple of weeks ago. We got to have them back also. Thank you to David Sheward. Read him at culturalweekly.com, theaterlife.com, and his blog, The David Desk. Thank. Who else? Oh, and of course I have to thank Rabbi Sol Solomon. Please read about him at his website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T. Shalomdammit.com. Rabbi Sol, he does mini sermons called Rabbinical Reflections. He's got about 150 of them or more. And they're all at his website with links where you can actually hear or watch him do them on YouTube. So check that out, shalomdammit.com. It's also a place where you can watch his half-hour comedy TV show that he did 10 episodes of for cable TV many years ago, as well as the staging of his great one-person show, Shalom Dammit, an evening with Rabbi Sol Solomon, performed, speaking of Shepherd, at the Richmond Shepherd Theater back in 2011. A decade of life just carries you away. It just does. But yeah, it's a wonderful show. Check it out. They videoed it, and you can watch it right at shalomdammit.com. So thank you to Rabbi Sol. Thank you to my wonderful, adorable, darling, amazing. Give me another adjective. What's another adjective you like for you?
I don't know. You're the one who speaks the English.
For my multiphonic wife with all the noises on here. No, multisonic wife. Yeah. Well, anyway, her name is Joyce. I love her, and I thank her for all the help and fun that she brings to my life, as well as every episode of this program, Dave's Gone By. So check out the archives if you always want to know what's happening on the show. Visit our Facebook page during the week. Either way, we hope to see you next week, March 13th, with Bill Kirchenbauer and Rabbi Sol and our usual fun in the DAVERHOOD on Dave's Gone By. Until then, enjoy the somewhat warmer weather coming up. There were actually snow flurries this morning, but it'll be in the 50s by the middle of the week. So that's March for you. And you know what? I think in only 2 weeks, we've got the clock rolling back. And spring, it's coming. It's, as are several variants of the coronavirus that we'll all die from, but spring is coming and gone by.
Days gone by, 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 days gone by.
Popcorn!